Very good morning to you. Yes, welcome to the Newsroom show, of course. Elvis Preslin, as always, is with me. I'm Evan Jansen. Good morning to Elvis.
Good morning, Evan. How are you this morning?
Very good this morning. We've got a very interesting show, very interesting, some nice questions. Our focus this morning, of course, was on donkeys. Yes. Donkeys, yes, there's a massive demand for donkey skins and meat in China, and that has an effect here in South Africa.
An alarming rise in donkeys being poached, we believe, and donkeys being skinned alive in the Northwest Province and even in the Northern Cape. So the question that we pose to you today is, would you consider eating donkey meat? That's the question.
I would consider it. I would eat it. I would actually. I would eat it.
Sweet and juicy.
What's the difference? And we've had a couple of horse meat scandals here in South Africa, so I think we might have consumed by accident or by not knowing a little bit of horse and donkey meat in our time. But that's our question of the day. We've got tweets, interesting tweets coming in. Let's have a look at what you guys are saying on our question of the day.
This one from Michael says, "Choo, not me. Donkey, no, guys."
Michael, you don't know what you've eaten, my friend. Norbert Mkize, he says, of course I would like to eat it. Actually, it's my wish to eat all types of animals' meat.
Well,
says Norbert.
Norbert, if you're here in Johannesburg, you can go to Carnivores. It's a restaurant here that you can eat all types of meat. Lachasa says, missed you guys a lot. I don't think it's a good idea to eat donkey. Better zebra. Donkey is very ugly. So hope even its meat is bad.
You don't eat the looks of the animal, Lachasa. But nice to have you back with us. Lachasa, who's been a regular tweeter, hasn't been around for a little bit, so great to have you back as well. Of course, on a very serious note, we're also conducting a poll today on the Health Ombudsman, who released a report into the scandal of 94 psychiatric patients who died after being transferred from mental hospitals into the care of unlicensed NGOs, Elvis.
So the question that we posed to you this morning on our poll is, should the families of the Isidimeni tragedy be compensated? That is the question that we posed to you. So far, 160 votes, 23 hours left. 90% of you are saying yes, the family should be compensated.
Yeah, overwhelming majority saying yes, compensate. Those that have suffered. Let's take a look at the tweets that you guys are sending us with regards to this. This one from Victor Zwane. He says, SABC Newsroom, and then what? They'll find inner peace or closure? This is becoming another Marikana, the hashtag like Isidimeni. There'll be an inquiry soon, says Victor Zwane.
This one from Clausa says, yes, they need to be compensated. Simple as that. Finish and clear.
Yes, then Vuyo says, the family should be compensated definitely without any hesitation. Isidimeni report, I'm in East London, says Vuyo Simawe.
Well, there you have it. Some of your comments coming through. You can keep on doing that on the Twitter handle at SABC Newsroom as well as on the Facebook page.
Yeah, let's take a look now at our top stories.
Indeed, our top story, families of 94 psychiatric patients who died after being transferred from mental hospitals into the care of unlicensed NGOs are considering legal action against former Gauteng Health MEC. And that announcement was made 27 years ago. And as part of the historical annual conference of the F.W. de Klerk Foundation today, the issues of constitution and governance will be under the spotlight. And the police minister will face tough questions when he appears before the Portfolio Committee on Police on recent issues regarding SAPS leadership. Those are all your headlines, but before we get to the news, let's find out from Kendall Makhamate what's happening on the sports front. Hey, good morning, Kendall.
Gentlemen, a hearty good morning to you. It is midweek, and I tell you what, I'm enjoying the sporting fraternity. It's actually come back to life. There's a lot going on, and it makes me very happy to welcome you as well to Newsroom. We've got a lot for you in the sports department. Good morning. This is what we've got for you today.
This is trouble. This could be out. There's no doubt about that. A quicker ball from Tyre. He knows that. The guy goes on the cut, and Tyre slides one in and is hit at stone middle. And congratulations all around.
The Proteas go 2-0 up over meek and mild Sri Lanka in the ODI series, beating them by 121 runs in Durban.
It's a short run up. Al-Hadri to beat. Bertrand Traore! Egypt will play in the final.
Highly decorated veteran keeper Essam Al-Khadri inspires Egypt to the final of AFCON as the Pharaohs beat Burkina Faso 4-3 on penalties after a 1-0 draw in Libreville.
And there's a tussle on the far side. Here's Jesus and De Bruyne, and that's a splendid goal from Manchester City.
Manchester City turn on the style and inflict a crushing 4-0 defeat on West Ham.
And Jesus scores. Off the mark for Manchester City.
All this and more I've got for you later on in the Sports Bulletin. Be sure to stick around for it. For now, it is back to Elvis, who's got the news.
Thank you, Kendall. Top story this morning. Former Gauteng Health MEC Kwadani Mashlangu is facing legal action from the families of 94 psychiatric patients who died after being transferred from mental hospitals into the care of unlicensed NGOs. She resigned ahead of the Health Ombudsman Malachapuru Makgoba's report into the scandal.
June 2016, over 1,000 patients are moved from this mental health facility as a cost-cutting measure. 7 months later, 94 paid the ultimate price.
Only one person has died from a mental health related illness. None of the 93 have died from a mental illness. They have died from other things other than mental illness, like dehydration, diarrhea, epilepsy, heart attacks.
The majority died at NGOs, and shocking revelations of a possible cover-up by health officials.
On the 13th of September, when the MEC made her announcement that 36 patients had died, actually it was 77 patients had already died on the 13th of September. Now, why she did not know that information, I cannot answer.
All is much higher than initially reported. None of the 27 NGOs had valid licenses. They were incompetent, inexperienced, and overcrowded. The decision to end the contract with Life Esidimeni was unwise and flawed. The moving of patients was chaotic and rushed, and they were kept under poor conditions. Policies and legislation were flouted. This is how Makgoba summed it up.
A combination of negligence, reckless decisions and actions, combined with appalling conditions in some of the NGOs, as revealed through the evidence of the different stakeholders.
For the National Health Minister, more than an embarrassment.
It goes beyond embarrassment. It brings anger in you and the distress, because as the professor said, something like this should have been avoided.
The Ombudsman's recommendation: disbanding the Gauteng Mental Health Marathon Project, suspension and disciplinary procedures against senior officials involved, shutting down the 27 NGOs, and moving remaining patients to appropriate facilities. Those who want to challenge the report have 30 days to do so. Criminal investigations continue. Mangoba Mchunu, SABC News.
The Gauteng office of the Premier says that the former Health MEC Kwadani Mashlangu accepted that as the political head of the department, she was accountable for what happened and tendered her resignation on Tuesday night. The office's head of communications, Thabo Masebe, says that the Premier, David Makura, has set the process in motion to follow the recommendations of the Health Ombudsman. SABC News spoke to Masebe earlier.
Yes, she had seen the report. You'd remember that the Health Ombudsman actually gave her a draft report much earlier in January. So she had seen the report, or at least she was aware of
the recommendations
what was
thereof.
contained in the report, the findings and recommendations,
All right.
or the contemplated findings and recommendations.
So what happened? She stepped down voluntarily, or was it the recommendation by the Premier? Because the recommendations from the Ombudsman report had stated that Premier must take, tougher action against her.
Yes, indeed, but she had already accepted that she was accountable politically for everything that happened in the department. So by the time they discussed with the Premier, obviously Tuesday night was not the first time they spoke about this matter. They would have spoken over time, but by the time she decided on Tuesday, she had really thought about the matter. She had looked at all the issues, and she accepted that as the head, as the political head, she was ultimately responsible for all the actions of the department. And she felt it would be proper for her to tender a resignation.
All right. Now that she's no longer MEC of Health in Gauteng, and of course she's no longer a member of the provincial legislature, does it mean that Masebe, that she's off the hook in terms of, taking responsibility and accountability?
Well, as the provincial government, we'll have to look at all the matters that the health ombudsman is raising in the report. So it's not only the MEC, we have to look at all the people that are cited there as having played a role there and say what corrective measures do we take. The recommendations are clear on what we have to do as the provincial government, and the Premier is committed to acting. He has already set in motion a process to deal with all of those recommendations. The other thing is, what do we do with the patients that are currently...
Just before you get to the issue of the patients, let's just go back to the issue of the former MEC taking responsibility and accounting to what happened here. We had the Minister of Health yesterday during the briefing saying that he actually made mention of institutions like your NPA and SAPS that they will have to be looked into. Are you saying that the Premier, as it is now, he's also considering those institutions?
Well, the report makes clear findings and recommendations. We'll follow all of the issues that are raised by Professor Makgoba in the recommendations.
Any intentions of laying criminal charges, maybe not just to the MEC, but to everyone involved from the health department?
I'm saying we'll have to follow all the issues that are raised in the findings and recommendations. If Professor Makgoba is saying we must refer certain matters to other institutions, we'll have to refer to those institutions which are duly authorized to deal with such matters.
Now, on a poll, we focus on that issue, and we'll update you on that poll as we progress here today and give you an update on where that poll stands. Earlier on, 90% of you are saying that the family should be compensated, but we'll bring back to you. Let's now go to Parliament's Police Portfolio Committee, who is expected to meet today to consider the way forward after the suspended National Police Commissioner Ria Piyega's decision to challenge the findings of the Claassen inquiry. According to the report, Piyega is unfit to hold office. Piyega was suspended in 2015. The move followed her actions during the Marikana tragedy in 2012, in which 44 people, including mine workers, were killed during a protracted strike at Lonmin Mine. According to the chairperson of the committee, Francois Beekman, Parliament's Police Portfolio Committee does not have powers to remove the suspended National Police Commissioner Ria Piyega from office. The committee, which received the report last year, says it will seek legal advice on the issue. Today marks 27 years since then South African President F.W. de Klerk announced the unbanning of the African National Congress and other parties active in the struggle for liberation. The F.W. de Klerk Foundation commemorates this day by hosting a conference addressing topics relating to the Constitution. Speakers at today's conference will include the former President, F.W. de Klerk, Moletsi Mbeki, and Justice Zak Yacoub. The conference tackles a topical theme with input from a diverse range of influential speakers. The theme for this year's conference is The Constitution and Governance at Another Crossroad.
The centenary sought to focus on employment.
Now, Deputy President Cyril Ramaphosa has met his Cuban counterpart Salvador Valdez Mesa in Pretoria. The two leaders discuss ways of strengthening political, economic and trade relations between the two countries. The Cuban Vice President also paid a courtesy call on President Jacob Zuma. Currently, the Cuban government has 400 doctors working in South Africa, and Ramaphosa says this is testimony that relations between the two countries are truly genuine. Now, that's your news for now. Now, remember, there's a number of questions that we pose to you. One on our poll in terms of the Isidemeni, and of course on the donkey meat that we have for you today. We're asking the question, would you consider eating donkey meat? Well, let's take a look at what you have to say on the Twitter handle at SABC Newsroom, as well as on our Facebook page. This one from Debbie says, why eat donkey meat? There is chicken, lamb and beef. How sick to skin them alive. It's just sick. So says Debbie McKenzie. She's not going to go there. Teboho Mukwena says, donkey meat, donkey as in Shrek and donkey. Exactly, Teboho, exactly that. Debbie McKenzie come back and she says, I'm strongly against eating donkey meat. How cruel, says Debbie. And this one from Vulanium Tembu says, yes, I would. Donkey a la carte. There you go. It's a very good to that one, huh? Well, there you have it. These are some of your comments. You can keep them coming and we'll read them as we continue. But we're also conducting a poll. Let's go over to Eben to find out what's happening there.
Yeah, Elvis, that is our theme for today. Of course, there is a massive demand for donkey skins and the meat in China. And this resulted in an alarming rise of the theft of these animals in the Northwest Province. The provincial government wants to meet this demand by enabling local farmers to breed donkeys on a large scale and slaughter them. This announcement has been met by opposition from organised agriculture and animal welfare experts who warn that it may do more harm than good. Nicolene Smallman reports.
Donkeys, the main means of transport in rural Northwest. It is increasingly targeted by thieves for its meat. It is popular amongst the Chinese, who also use gelatin found in the skin for medicinal purposes. A total of 38 cases of donkey theft has been reported in the province in the past year.
We are experiencing an increase in terms of theft of donkeys. And one can also indicate that the area that is mostly affected at this stage is areas such as Jericho, Makapangsstad, Klepgat, as well as Makobistad in Mahiken cluster.
The theft of donkeys in the Braklaagte village is devastating to elderly residents like John and Kortwe and David Tiro, who use these animals to transport everyday commodities like water and firewood.
My donkeys are gone. 2 donkeys. I now only have 2.
The donkeys are 10. What's there 7?
I had 10 donkeys and they stole 7. I'm an old man of 82 years. There's no way I can make up for the losses I have suffered.
Plans are afoot in the Northwest for the breeding of donkeys on a large scale. They will then be slaughtered and its hides and meat exported to China. But Agri Northwest warns that donkeys can destroy grazing. This could spell doom for most livestock farmers in the province.
To breed donkeys on large scale is problematic because they are very detrimental to grazing. They are short grazers. If you keep too many animals on a specific area or limited area, they destroy the grazing.
But the government disagrees.
The project that we envisaging to undertake is going to be on sheltered sheds, a feedlot kind of a thing. And we're not envisaging that we will have overgrazing.
Another concern of Agri Northwest is the cruelty with which the donkeys are being butchered.
It's absolutely barbaric to treat animals in this way. It's animal abuse and cruelty of the worst kind.
The MEC further allayed fears of cruelty by promising that awareness campaigns to sensitize communities to the humane treatment of donkeys will be undertaken.
The legislation that regulates how animals should be treated, how should they be handled, how should they be transported, and how a slaughtering should be done. And in the main also, when we have slaughtered the Meat Safety Act, like I've indicated. So this is something that people that are potential producers, that are potential farmers, potential participants of this project should be taken on board on. So as and when we do our community mobilization, we will be emphasizing this.
Meanwhile, the National Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals has called for a halt to the trade of donkey skins to produce medicine. The NSPCA wants an impact assessment of the trade to be proven to be both humane to the animals and sustainable for communities that depend on them. Nicolien Smallman, SABC News, Bracklaagte Neer-Zeerust.
Well, the National Council of Societies for the Prevention of Cruelty Against Animals, that's the NSPCA in South Africa, says there's a massive increase in donkey poaching, with the animals being slaughtered in a very barbaric way. Donkey skin is in demand in China as it's used to produce medicine which is believed to delay menopause. More than 100 donkeys were illegally slaughtered in the Northern Cape and Northwest in the last 3 months alone. Meanwhile, 5,000 donkey hides were discovered in a shack in Benoni here in Gauteng. The NSPCA's Paul Mokoena says people are using a hammer to hit the donkeys. When they fall down, they don't even wait to see the donkeys dead. They just start skinning it. Now, from the NSPCA, we are joined by Paul Mokoena. She's the Farm National Protection Unit Inspector. Very good morning to you, and thank you for being with us.
Good morning.
Just give us a quick idea. What's the extent of the problem that we're seeing with donkey poaching and killings here in South Africa right now?
Okay, what is happening at this moment, we're actually receiving complaints in weekly basis, whereby it's extended to the places like KZN. Recently, we actually received a complaint also in KZN, whereby 35 donkeys were actually killed. They were just scattered, the bodies were scattered in the mountain and they were left there. So it's all over, I can say it's all over around the country now.
The main complaint is that these donkeys are being slaughtered in a very inhumane way. How are these donkeys slaughtered? Can you maybe explain to us?
The way they slaughter them, it's actually depend, because some other places we found, like, for an example, now in KZN, they were using a screwdriver just to slaughter. They didn't even slaughter, they just hit them there at the back, and then after that, they don't cut the throat, they just leave them like that.
And then they take the skin off the donkey?
They take off the skin of the donkey and they leave the carcasses lying there.
I understand that you've been visiting some of these farms. You were in Olifantshoek in the Northern Cape last week. What did you find at this farm that you were visiting?
Okay, in Olifantshoek, what did we find? We went to the farm, and then by the farm, actually, we found lots and lots of carcasses. There is actually happening in 2 of the farms that one man, he hired those farms. What is happening there is they're using the hammer, hitting them with the hammer, not even cutting the throat. So when we asked the owner, is he happy about what is happening? Seeing that there are more than 35 donkeys are being killed in daily basis by his farm. The farmers, he didn't care about it. He said he thought maybe because of it's an animal, it doesn't matter. So the carcasses, they were lying all over around.
Just tell us about the donkeys themselves. What is the thing that's being used and being exported, and how is it, what's the kind of cost with regards to donkeys now?
Okay, what is happening at this moment actually is the skin of the donkey that is in demand because of, according to the Chinese Newly Daily, it says that they're looking for the skins because they boil it for gelatin, that they use it as medicinal. And
how much can you get? Will they pay for the skin of a full donkey now? Do we have a price? Why?
They do pay, but they pay a little amount to those ones, the owners of the donkeys, because some of the donkeys, they don't pay because of they are stealing them. They are stealing them. So about the amount, it depends, because some of them, you will hear that they actually paid 600, they actually paid 450.
We see in rural Northwest Province, for instance, that donkeys are the primary mode of transport, and so most of these donkeys that are stolen are stolen from individuals, or do we have a whole lot of these donkeys that run free in the rural areas?
What is happening is some of them, they have been still individualists, because you find some of the member of communities, they will be complaining that I had 9 donkeys inside my property where I closed them. But in the morning when I wake up, I found that all my donkeys were gone. I only found the carcasses next to the river. It's where I found the carcasses. I don't know what happened.
So people, they don't eat the donkeys at all, locally?
In one case that actually happened in Northwest, we found one donkey whereby the whole 4 legs were cut off. So we don't know that are they eating it or what is it happening. But in the case whereby in Northern Cape, in Olifantshoek, our suspect actually admitted that he slaughtered them, and then what he does is he will be taking meat to Kimberley. From Kimberley, that meat is coming to Johannesburg. So for the first time when he started to slaughter, he was not taking the meat. But recently when we found him, he was taking the meat, because even in his house, he had a big cooler that he kept it outside where he was storing the meat, even inside the house.
Do we have a crisis in South Africa, a national crisis?
Yes, we do. We do have a crisis in South Africa, because like now, donkeys are animals that are being targeted. They are being targeted because of the way they've been killed. They are not being killed humanely. So we found that the authorities, the government and the police, even if they are reporting the matter, they are doing nothing.
Well, I thank you for joining us today. That's the Farm National Protection Unit Inspector, Paul Mokoena, talking to us about, well, the plight of donkeys here in South Africa. And, well, they're being exported. Some say that in the Chinese market, a donkey skin could fetch up to 7,000 Rand, and that's why it's so popular now. Of course, we're asking you a question. Would you consider eating donkey meat? What do you think about people that eat donkey meat? Well, here are some of your comments with regards to that. This one from Doc Moses Balani says, Newsroom, I wouldn't be surprised if I haven't eaten it already, given the butcheries we have here in Mzansi. Yes, we've had horse meat scandals in our butcheries. Why not donkey meat? Shafana Zuleshoa says, Newsroom, no, the donkey is not an animal that's supposed to be eaten, says Shafana. Onati says, Newsroom, I will never eat a donkey or anything like that. Well, very, very interesting. Keep it coming. We'd love to hear your views with regards to donkey meat. Would you eat it? Send us a tweet if you would, or if you wouldn't, and why you think so. Of course, the donkeys have been killed at an alarming rate. We'll speak to the police and other stakeholders shortly, but let's first get our social media update with Elvis.
Well, there you have it, Eben. Let's take a look at what's happening on social media, and we start with that shocking story about the Isidimeni tragedy when 94 psychiatric patients died from carelessness. Hashtag Life Isidimeni. People have highlighted some of the most painful quotes from family members. Malusi says that this is a massacre, and then, if you can see that there it is on your screen there, Malusi Boyd, it says this is a massacre. Then in some sports news, Proteas, hashtag Protea Fires doing the rounds following their win against Sri Lanka by 121 runs. Yeah, good news there for the Proteas. And some more sports news, AFCON 2017. Egypt has made it to the final, and the fans are super excited. Look at the goalkeeper being excited, never mind the fans there. Then moving further afield, today is hashtag World Hijab Day, and this is to celebrate the Muslim culture and religion in light of the banning of the traditional attire in a few countries in an attempt to curb the plight of extremism. And there you can see the wonderful hijabs that the women are wearing there. On a humorous note though, people are talking about Beyonce's pregnancy photo. She announced that she's pregnant with twins with this photo. And of course, there's been some memes. Famous TV host Ellen DeGeneres replicated the photo with the caption, "Me too," as a joke. Now, can you catch that joke? Yeah? There you go. Our picture of the day comes from Subovsky, who says, And it's captioned, in honor of World Hijab Day, here are a collection of selfies. My hijab is not a symbol of my oppression. Our comment of the day comes from Matriculant Jobs, who says, the tragedy of life is not that it ends so soon, but that we wait so long to begin it. W.M. Lewis, that's a quote there from him. Rest in peace there on that quote there. Now let's take a look at what's happening in the courts, in the courtrooms today. We start off in Cape Town, where the ongoing High Court case of the eviction of the Bromwell Street residents in Woodstock to Wolverrivier, a low-cost housing project near Melkbosstrand, that's 30 kilometers north of Cape Town, is expected to continue. We'll keep you updated on that one. And in Johannesburg, the real estate agent whose racist rant towards a black police officer was caught on camera is expected to appear in the Randburg District Court. Vicky Momberg is facing 8 charges of criminal injuria after video of the incident emerged. We'll keep you updated of all these stories and the cases, so you have to stay tuned. But right now, we'll take a short break. We'll be right back after that.
Whether you're looking for a restaurant, public transport or a university, a lot of us use our smartphone apps to find the closest one. On Network, we chat to those who play a role in Africa's tech space.
We have taken financial services closer to the people. Yeah, mobile penetration is pretty high.
Apple take 30%, keep 70%.
On Network, we give you Africa's social media and technology news. That's Network with Ms. Phumelele Zondi every Sunday at 7:30 p.m. Central African Time.
Police say there's no evidence to suggest that the syndicate is involved in the killing of donkeys for their hides. Now, this comes after reports that a Chinese syndicate was illegally slaughtering and trading the animals' meat and skin after more than 5,000 donkey skins were found stored in Benoni here on the East Rand. On Monday, the SPCA also said that hundreds of donkeys were slaughtered alive at a farm in Olifantshoek in the Northern Cape. National Police spokesperson Brigadier Vishnu Naidu now joins us from the Port Elizabeth studios. A very good morning to you, Brigadier, and welcome.
A very good morning, and thanks for having me this morning.
First and foremost, what is your reaction as the SAPS on the poaching and killing on donkeys, and is this trend on the increase?
Well, first and foremost, I must say that we are viewing this in a very serious light, but fortunately, from the reports that we've received so far, these incidents seem to be sporadic. We have had incidents reported, as you rightfully said, in the Northern Cape. We also had 2 incidents reported in the Northwest Province. There's speculation that there may have been incidents reported in Limpopo, but not to the police per se. We're still investigating those allegations. And the latest one was in KwaZulu-Natal at the end of January, where there was the third and final report actually made to us when 2 men were found slaughtering donkeys near the Lesotho border post. Of course, in all of these cases that I've mentioned, we have arrested people, but we haven't been able to establish a specific motive. In one case, the suspects indicated that they were slaughtering the animal for the meat, and others were saying they were slaughtering it for the hide. But of course, we still have to go more in-depth into the actual motive behind the slaughtering of the animals. What we can confidently say now that there is indeed no evidence to suggest that there was any foreign syndicates involved in this, because the suspects that we've arrested are of South African nationality, and at least 2 of them are foreign nationalities. They have no links with each other. They are in 3 separate areas. The modus operandi is different in all of those cases. So that's not enough for us to go by just yet to establish one particular motive.
So, Brigadier, what then must happen for the SABC to consider this incident as a national crisis? 5,000 donkeys just at one stage, their hides being found. Isn't that enough?
Well, the hides you're referring to, we still have to determine the origin of the origin of those hides. Firstly, we don't know if it is indeed from South Africa. Those incidents that I told you about, as I said, we're viewing it in a very serious light. It happened within the South African borders. We are putting preventative measures in place. You do know that we have stock theft units that are working. We make use of dogs that are trained specifically to prevent and also to combat these crimes from continuing. So because of the fact that it's sporadic, it's only concentrated in 3 areas, and only 3 reports have been made so far of these incidents taking place. We're confident that we have it under control. So we cannot really view it as a national crisis. Once I think we've determined the actual motive, and if there is a link between the 3 cases to suggest that there is one particular syndicate that's involved and that these hides are indeed destined for a particular foreign country, then we can extend this investigation abroad. You do remember that in Johannesburg last year we had a CITES conference where there were various issues put on the agenda to be considered for the CITES. So we do have this relationship with our foreign counterparts, and if the situation comes up where we need to engage those counterparts, we have a platform such as Interpol in which to do it like we do it for other endangered species in the country. And I'm not suggesting that the donkeys are endangered species at this stage.
But what are they? Because the number seems to be growing, and it seems to be an increase there, as well as the manner in which these donkeys are being transported and slaughtered. According to the NSPCA, it's a cruel and inhumane manner, and it's unacceptable. Do you concur with them? And what steps will be taken to prevent this from happening?
Well, absolutely. If you look at the manner in which these donkeys are being slaughtered, there's been suggestion, although it's not conclusively proven, that they're being skinned alive. And also the manner in which they're being transported. It is indeed inhumane. There are laws that protect these animals against that, and when we arrest these suspects, we enforce those laws. The Animal Rights Act, then of course there are other criminal laws, because most of these donkeys are stolen, so we also charge them for theft. There's malicious damage to property and so on and so forth. And these are all serious crimes. So we can set an example by ensuring that these suspects face the full brunt of the law. So we're not suggesting that the manner in which these donkeys are treated are actually acceptable. They're totally unacceptable, and we are dealing with it from a criminal aspect.
Brigadier, I thank you so much for your time and joining us here on Newsroom.
Thanks once again.
That was Brigadier, the National Police Commissioner spokesperson, Brigadier Vishnu Naidu, is joining us from the Port Elizabeth studios there.
They say a donkey hide could fetch up to 7,000 rand if you sold it in China or to a Chinese dealer. That's without even selling the meat. So it's very, very lucrative. But we're asking you to bring it home to us South Africans. Would you consider eating donkey meat? Should we farm donkeys, even for our local market here in South Africa? Well, you guys are tweeting us because I think it's something that, it's got everybody thinking about this thing. Let's have a look what you guys are telling us. This one from Valentine Butale. He says, Newsroom, it's common in some parts of Botswana. I haven't tried it, but people who have say it's grand. Yeah, donkey meat is grand, he says. Makaboke says, Newsroom, hell no. You, me, donkey, nana, disgusting, he says. Monwabi Zimbonda comes to us, he says this morning, Newsroom, in our religion, we use donkeys for transport. We don't eat donkeys. I will never eat it. Trust me on this one, says Monwabizi. And this one from Bantu. Bantu tweets us, he says, Newsroom, donkey meat, question mark. You, that's hectic. Thank God I'm vegetarian. says Bantu. Yes, how do we discriminate between different kinds of animals? If they are farmed, some say meat is meat. What are you saying? At SABC Newsroom is where you can tell us what you think. Of course, on our Facebook page today, there's a whole host of stories that you can interact with and leave us your views on them. Deputy President Cyril Ramaphosa has described relations between South Africa and Cuba as solidarity in practice. He was speaking after meeting his Cuban counterpart, Salvador Valdez Mesa, in Pretoria last night. Then we also see there that a senior Wits University professor has been fired after the institution's Gender Equity Office found him guilty of sexual harassment. The professor had been on leave since September of 2016 while he was being investigated. This after 3 of his junior female colleagues laid a complaint against him. Also, 3 former employees of Samancor Chrome Mine in Marikana near Rustenburg in the northwest have been sentenced to a total of 123 years in prison by the Mahikeng High Court. The detail you can get on our Facebook page. You can also go to sabc.co.za/news and you'll get all the details on those stories. We're going to take a short commercial break. When we come back, there's more donkey for you.
The world has become digital, and we need to find new ways to solve current problems.
You're capturing your geo-coordinate. So if you stay in a shack, you still have an address because we know where you are.
Some are using it to tell new African narratives.
Our first priority is catering to our fans. We have to go where they are, and they're online.
That's Network with Ms. Phumelele Zondi every Sunday at 7:30 p.m. Central African Time.
Rhinos and elephants that are being poached and killed for their body parts. Now, donkey poaching is said to be on the increase in South Africa, with Asian interests again being blamed. Donkey meat is also a popular dish in parts of China, and the Northwest Province was set to join Botswana in supplying this growing demand for it. The interest for the supply of donkeys increased soon after the Chinese delegation official visit to the Northwest Province. What was expected to be a cash cow for the local breeders has now turned into a nightmare. The SPCA estimates that over 100 donkeys have been stolen and cruelly killed in the last 3 months in the Northwest and the Northern Cape provinces. Their skins are said to be in high demand in Asia for alleged medical purposes. China needs 8 million donkeys per annum to satisfy their ever-growing domestic market, whereas the current supply is only 1.8 million. Now, to talk to us about their relationship with China regarding the supply of donkeys to the Chinese market, we are joined from our Mafikeng studios by the Northwest MEC for Rural Environment and Agricultural Development, Manketsi Tlhape. MEC, a very good morning to you and welcome.
Good morning, sir, and good morning to the viewers at home.
What is your reaction to the latest trend of donkey poaching as well as stock theft and meat trading that is currently underway in the Northwest?
We are disturbed as a department, as provincial government on this trend, because you will remember that as a provincial government, we undertook a trip together with the Premier and MEC for FEED, that is Finance, Enterprise and Economic Development, to go and check this project of trading with donkey meat and donkey hides in China. Coming back, we also spoke to our communities. We gave them information that the department and provincial government is going to undertake a business proposal, comprehensively slow, so that we exploit this donkey trade market. Now, with what is currently happening, we are working together with South African Police Service to curb this scourge of exploiting donkeys. But we are almost through with our business proposal as a department to make sure that we go out on a community drive to give them information and how this project is going to unfold in the Northwest.
Now, the trade relations that you currently have with China, what is the Northwest supposed to supply to China on a regular basis?
Our approach is going to be comprehensive, value-adding chain. What we have seen in China is like a feedlot, a breeding facility. Our interest as the Northwest is to make sure that we export meat, we export hides, but in the main beneficiate everything. That will entail donkey cultivation or production facilities. We will also go with the abattoir route so that we not only export the meat and the hides, but we also capacitate our farmers on other value-adding beneficiations, because the aim is to make sure that through the villages, townships, and small dorpies approach, everybody else, the small producers, the donkey owners, we uplift their economic status.
Now, talking about those small dorpies and communities, in Zeerust, reports suggest that the chiefs are taking advantage of the situation there and they're exploiting it, they're stealing and ripping off the local community from their donkeys. What is your response to that, and what is the action that you're going to take against these actions?
That requires a multi-pronged approach, a multidisciplinary approach. First and foremost is what I'm saying, the community mobilization and awareness, to give them the appropriate information as to how this is going to work out. Number two, we need to collaborate and work together with the law enforcing agencies. We have to work together with SPCA, because the inhumane handling of animals, the inhumane slaughtering of animals in itself is criminal acts. Now, it will need a multi-pronged approach in order to curb what is currently going on, if ever this what has been alleged is true.
The Northwest government, the local breeders there, are they ready to supply this huge demand of donkeys to China?
They are ready. Each time we go on media and talk about this, the interest is there. We have already checked the population that we have as the Northwest estimately, and our aim, like I've indicated, is to have a production facility, a donkey cultivation center, house them in sheds, feed them appropriately, but that will do after mobilizing our communities.
There are other African countries like Niger as well as Burkina Faso. They have banned trade relations with China. Is the Northwest perhaps not likely to follow that route?
Not in the real sense. We have undertook a trip to China to see how they operate. And our agreement with them currently is on establishing a sustainable project that will go a long way. Now, we would really want to take the route that they have taken, instead learn on what they have done, because sustainability is the main issue to sustain the supply. But our also interest is the total beneficiation of the whole thing, not only exporting meat and hides.
MEC, I thank you and good luck with the venture.
Thanks so much, and thanks for the viewers at home.
Right, that was the Northwest MEC for Rural Environment and Agricultural Development, Manketsi Tlhape, telling us about their donkey trade with China.
Yes, farming donkeys is a reality. Beneficiation, as you heard from the NEC, the entire value chain. There can be real value in it for our rural communities in South Africa that are often at risk of a lack of development and, well, a lack of income, really. So we ask you, if donkeys are going to be farmed in South Africa, would you consider eating the donkey meat? That's what we ask you. It's a straight-up question. Well, what's the difference between eating donkey and beef, for instance? Is there a difference in when you slaughter these animals? Well, you guys are tweeting us feverishly on this question, and we're not surprised that you guys are tweeting us. Lucky Malachi says, Newsroom only for 3 reasons. 1, save my life and leave forever. 2, for love, and 3, for money. Talking about donkey poaching and donkey meat, says Lucky Malachi. Unati comes in and he says, Newsroom, to me a donkey is one of the important things in our lives. I can't eat it. Well, you're right, Unati. It's transporting most of our rural communities. Then Freddie Peterson comes in. He says, Newsroom, yes, as I am sure, I've already ate it. He says, yes, we've had those kinds of scandals here in South Africa. Barry Martin, good morning to you, Barry. Thanks for this contribution. He says, our meat we eat are not properly regulated. How do we know we already eat donkey meat? That is no surprise. It's about business, says Barry Martin. Well, that's what we are. That's what we are dealing with. Donkey meat. Personally, I would not discriminate against donkey meat if it's farmed properly, sustainably, and of course, if the animals are cared for in an organic way, I wouldn't have a problem eating with it. I'm sure some of you remember the horse meat scandal that we had in some of our restaurants here in South Africa. Anyhow, time for us to shift our attention now. We'll continue the story in our 10 o'clock hour in the next hour at 10. But before we go there, let's just have a look at what's been going on in the world of sport. Of course, Sri Lanka crashed to another demoralizing defeat to the Proteas in Durban yesterday. They lost by a massive 121 runs, and they were never really in the game as they were set more than 300 runs to win that game. Well, the Proteas are now 2-0 up in the series. I'm here with Kendall Mahamati. Morning, Kendall. What did you make of yesterday's match?
You know, yesterday's match was a little disappointing, especially since we're preparing for the Champions Trophy. One would have been hoping that the Proteas have been given stiff opposition to help them prepare for this. Unfortunately, Sri Lanka not providing any of that. Very meek, very mild. They've lost a lot of their key players. We've had this discussion before. Malinga's gone, Murali's gone, Jayawardana's gone, Sangakkara's gone. So I think really our focus should really be more on the Proteas. They've been very well drilled.
Yeah, in the end, you can only play what's put in front of you. And I think the good news is that Faf got a brilliant 100 when we were in trouble yesterday. And David Miller finished it off beautifully yesterday.
Unbeaten.
He got an unbeaten 100 and he slapped them all over the park there at one stage. Very well timed, very well put together. Now, of course, the next challenge for the Proteas I think on the 17th of this month, they're in New Zealand, which will be a totally different kettle of fish. New Zealand are a team very much on the up, aren't they?
Exactly. Talking about New Zealand, Faf du Plessis was talking about how well they've actually followed New Zealand's example in terms of the fielding. And that catch, that one-handed catch that he pulled out of the sky there, look at what A.B. de Villiers is doing. This was also part of the success story for yesterday. How brilliantly these guys fielded. They choked the Sri Lankan runs and actually literally took the fight out of them.
That's the fielding you're talking about, Kendall. But fielding is what South Africa brought to the modern game. John T. Rhodes, all South African teams are always fantastic fielding sides. And the game changed after South Africa came back after isolation with now much more of a focus on fielding.
No, absolutely. You know, that menace that you feel as a batsman on that pitch, and you're waiting or you're hoping that they miss the ball. That the menace that South Africa has brought to the game, that grit, that bite, has actually been something that has changed the game of cricket, the game of modern cricket. And it's been phenomenal how well that they followed what John T. Ray's put in front of them, and they carried on his legacy and done phenomenal stuff with their performances.
Kendall, thanks for being with us. Kendall, of course, will join us again at about 10:40 to give us a complete update. Also be with me at the top of the hour to bring you the headlines. But, well, that's where we leave it for this hour. We're going to take a look at the weather next, but don't forget we're back at the top of the hour with a complete update. And we're taking the donkey discussion even further, so don't go away.
We talk about a healthy lifestyle, but what is this healthy lifestyle?
What we're talking about really is you are healthy in those 3 areas of life: body, mind, and soul.
Before you embark on a weight loss journey, rather first speak to your person who has your complete clinical picture.
Ideally, your plate should look like this. Half of your plate should be fruit and vegetables. A quarter of your plate, starch. Quarter, protein.
Show you some of the things that I really enjoy doing for that bottom pouch as well as for cardio. So you do your kicks, you kick back.
Join Health Talk every Saturday for all your health news.
A top 5 rated horse racing event in the world, fashion is a highlight for those in attendance. All decked out in blue and white, the Lomorians Queen Plate is the premier event that kicked off everyone's social calendar.
That it was all part of my master plan to cast John Legend, but deprive him of his normal instrument and give that one to Ryan.
The House of Truth is not just a name. It is a religion. It is a lifestyle. It is a conviction that drives us.
What really excites me is how people have kept it very simple and also played with the theme, and how each person has interpreted it in their own way.
To stay updated with all the current entertainment news, tune into Trends every Saturday from 12 to 1.
Proceedings of the Fees Commission has once again been disrupted.
We as a university do not feel that fee-free higher education currently is feasible.
This is a Mickey Mouse commission. During in the commission, student grievances, we're not a part of the commission in the program. So that is why we tend to disturb the program.
If you tell me that I can't leave, then you are keeping me hostage.
Some students demanded that UCT lift the suspensions and expulsions of certain students.
Assumed U.S. drone strike in the south of the country has killed 3 Al-Qaeda suspects.
Death toll in Yemen's 18-month-old civil war now stands at about 10,000.
People get killed or die and are actually buried before they're recorded, and we don't have a way of recording that, but we know the numbers are much higher.
Water restrictions are to be imposed on villages in and around the Nkomazi municipality.
Pumps can't pump the water because there's no water in a river, and if the water is coming back, then it's full of mud.
Those who can pray and those who can do any miracle to make sure that we've got enough rain, give it a try.
Welcome back. This is the Newsroom show. Yes, it's the next hour. It's 10 o'clock Central African time. That's where we are. And I'm with Kendall Mahamate, of course, with the donkey discussion we've had until now. I've asked Kendall if there's anything that he would not eat, and surprisingly, there are lots of things you won't eat.
Absolutely. Starting with donkeys. I will not eat donkeys or horse. You know.
You don't even eat prawns. Fish?
Don't eat prawns. I see. Let's see insects. That's how I see
insects.
Yes, crayfish, crabs, all that stuff. No, thank you very much.
Oh, you are missing out very much on the love. Of course, today, this morning, our focus is on this massive demand for donkey skins and meat in China that's resulted in an alarming rise of theft of these animals in the Northwest Province. Of course, we're thinking about beneficiation of the donkey product in South Africa. And, well, we're going to farm it. So we're asking you the question, would you consider eating donkey meat? Now, as you can imagine, it's something that, well, it's got us all a little bit squeamish in thinking about it, and you guys are tweeting us feverishly. Let's have a look what the people are saying, Kendall.
Yeah, and I'm hoping that somebody agrees with me. Bantu says, looks like we have new rhinos. Who would have thought donkeys would be in such danger? It's taboo. Thank you, Bantu.
Why is it taboo? Shafana comes, he says, no, the donkey's not an animal that's supposed to be eaten. Who decides what animals can be eaten?
I like these tweets. Berry Martin says, our meat we eat are not properly regulated. How do we know we already eat donkey meat? That's no surprise. It's about business.
Well, we've had scandals with horse meat and giraffe meat and other meat in our butchers and so forth. I'm not going to mention the famous restaurant chain that was in the middle of it here in South Africa, but your burgers, I can say that you've been eating those beautiful big burgers. Think about what could be in there. We don't even know. Anyhow, we're also running a poll today, conducting a poll on the health ombudsman who released a report into the scandal of 94 psychiatric patients who died after being transferred from mental hospitals into the care of what turned out to be unlicensed NGOs here in South Africa. So, Kendall, we ask this question.
And the question really is, should the families of the Esidimeni tragedy be compensated? And interestingly enough, it's moved up by a single percentage point, but upwards is 91% of our viewers of the 189 votes say yes, they should be compensated.
Yeah, the overwhelming majority feel that the family should be compensated. But what are you guys tweeting us? Let's have a look at some of the comments that you guys are sending us with regards to this. Ilyas, the reporter, says, compensation won't do anything for the families. What they need is justice and closure. What do you mean when you say justice? Interesting.
Bantu comes in and weighs in on this topic as well. It says, whoever is involved, they must face the arm of the law. This is a massacre. Resigning is not enough. Accountability is.
Interesting take on that. Then Lechasa comes in and he says, in fact, this is the second Marikana massacre that really let the family of the victims be compensated. Finish and klar, ZB Mokhopong. Nice to have you back, Lechasa. Keep tweeting us. Lechasa has been tweeting us for, well, more than, a couple of years now here on the show. Also, tweet us some of any of the ideas that you have. Interesting. We'd like to incorporate it into the show. This is the Newsroom show. But there's a whole lot of other stuff happening. Let's take a look now at our top news stories. Families of 94 psychiatric patients who died after being transferred from mental hospitals into the care of unlicensed NGOs are considering legal action against the former Gauteng Health MEC, Kedani Mahlangu. Yes, this announcement was made 27 years ago today, and as part of the annual historical conference of the FW de Klerk Foundation, today issues of the Constitution and governance will be under the spotlight. Then the police minister will face tough questions when he appears before the Portfolio Committee on Police on recent issues regarding SAPS leadership. Well, that's the news stories that we'll be looking at, or that are, well, at the top right now. Let's go over to Kendall now to give us a quick sports update.
Yevon, thank you very much. Good morning to you. This is what we've got for you in the sports today.
This is trouble. This could be out. There's no doubt about that. A quicker ball from Tyre. He knows that. The guy goes on the cut, and Tyre slides one in and is hit at stone middle. And congratulations all around.
The Proteas go 2-0 up over Meek and Miles Sri Lanka in the ODI series, beating them by 121 runs in Durban.
The short runner, Al-Hadri to beat. Bertrand Traore! Egypt will play in the final.
Highly decorated veteran keeper Sam Al-Khadri inspires Egypt to the final of AFCON as the Pharaohs beat Burkina Faso 4-3 on penalties after a 1-0 draw in Libreville.
And there's a tussle on the far side. Here's Jesus and De Bruyne, and that's a splendid goal from Manchester City.
Manchester City turn on the style and inflict a crushing 4-0 defeat on West Ham.
Jesus scores! Off the mark for Manchester City.
Tell you what, that look on Sergio Aguero's face, absolutely priceless. That's where we leave it for now. I'll be back a little later on with a sports bulletin about 10:40. For now, just back to Eben, who's got the news.
Yeah, thank you, Kendall. Very good morning to you if you've just joined us. Now, the former Gauteng Health MEC, Redani Mahlangu, is facing legal action from the families of 94 psychiatric patients who died after being transferred from mental hospitals into the care of unlicensed NGOs. She resigned ahead of the health ombudsman, Malekapuru Makgoba's report into the scandal.
June 2016, over 1,000 patients are moved from this mental health facility as a cost-cutting measure. 7 months later, 94 paid the ultimate price.
Only one person has died from a mental health related illness. None of them, none of the 93 have died from a mental illness. They have died from other things other than mental illness, like dehydration, diarrhea, epilepsy, heart attacks.
The majority died at NGOs, and shocking revelations of a possible cover-up by health officials.
On the 13th of September, when the MEC made her announcement that 36 patients had died, actually it was 77 patients had already died on the 13th of September. Now, why she did not know that information, I cannot answer.
All is much higher than initially reported. None of the 27 NGOs had valid licenses. They were incompetent, inexperienced, and overcrowded. The decision to end the contract with Life Esidimeni was unwise and flawed. The moving of patients was chaotic and rushed, and they were kept under poor conditions. Policies and legislation were flouted. This is how Makgoba summed it up.
A combination of negligence, reckless decisions and actions, combined with appalling conditions in some of the NGOs, as revealed through the evidence of the different stakeholders.
For the National Health Minister, more than an embarrassment.
It goes beyond embarrassment. It brings anger in you and the distress, because as the professor said, something like this should have been avoided.
The Ombudsman's recommendation: disbanding the Gauteng Mental Health Marathon Project, suspension and disciplinary procedures against senior officials involved, shutting down the 27 NGOs, and moving remaining patients to appropriate facilities. Those who want to challenge the report have 30 days to do so. Criminal investigations continue. Mangoba Mchunu, SABC News.
Aggrieved families corroborated the appalling conditions under which their loved ones were kept. They're now calling for justice.
Still emotional and angry, the families have accepted the Health Ombudsman damning report, but say it's not enough.
Of course, compensation for what we suffered from, and of course, it just doesn't end up that way. And this will be a lesson for future.
There was no toilet. They were using 40 men. They were using one pit toilet outside. They were sleeping in a garage. The beds were just next to each other. And there was no water. Hammanskraal is such a hot place.
Their anger is directed at the former health MEC.
Her resignation, however, I'm not so happy about. I think it was very cowardly. She was very cocksure about what she was doing. So she should have waited and actually had her sentence handed to her.
The deaths have put the spotlight on the treatment of mentally ill patients.
Just because you have a mental health condition doesn't mean you lack dignity. You need respect. You need to be treated with respect and dignity. And it just shows how individuals, even within health establishments, have neglected their duties in caring for people with mental illness.
The families maintain that with better care, their loved ones would still be alive. Sipho Stirman, SABC News, Pretoria.
Meanwhile, the families of these mentally ill patients who died after being moved from the Life Sidimeni Centre say the Health Ombudsman report only confirmed what they always suspected. Now, SABC News spoke to Christine Ngumalo, who lost her sister.
My sister was at Life Sidimeni. She was moved, got an SMS on the 30th of June that says she's being moved to Cullinan and that the facility was closing. And at the bottom of it was given a telephone number to call. Call the number, there was no response. Basically, the number wasn't working. I literally spent about 2 weeks or so just trying to track her down. She wasn't, when you call Cullinan, she wasn't there. They say, no, she may be at the other NGOs, and when you call the other NGOs, they can't track her. And eventually Cullinan accepted, saying she was there.
All right, and eventually...
eventually, on the 25th of August, I got a call from a lady called Ethel, who then told me that my sister had passed away on the 17th, and then later found out that it was actually on the 15th that she died.
But where did she pass away?
In Attridgeville.
In Attridgeville.
At an NGO called Precious Angels.
Which is a totally different NGO that you were given.
Yeah. She was supposed to be at the hospital at Cullinan Centre.
Yeah. But how do you feel as the family when you had the Ombudsman, reading the report yesterday? Is it really making you feel better? Do you think that you'll get to find that closure?
Look, we suspected all this. I mean, some of these things we alluded to, that they were hiding information, that something was not right. Because if you listen to some of the stories of the family members who've lost, it's harrowing stories. So what he was saying, he was just confirming our suspicions. Feeling better. I'm feeling better because the report said what we were hoping it would say.
It's confirmed
what we had suspected. Feeling better about the whole process? No, because it's now 94 deaths. I mean, we were at as far as we know, we were at 36, 39 at some point. 94 is way too high.
It is.
Well, Parliament's Police Portfolio Committee is meeting to consider the way forward after suspended National Police Commissioner Ria Peacha's decision to challenge the findings of the Klassen inquiry. Let's go live to Parliament.
Minister, Honourable Chair, Honourable Members, we will talk to the report which we volunteered to the Portfolio Committee of Police in December. Which report deals with allegations which were made way back in 2012. Those allegations were made by Pop Crew, including 3 members who call themselves whistleblowers, who are based in the Division Forensic Services. It is for that reason, Chair, that the delegation is primarily constituted by people in the Division Forensic Services, because that is where these allegations are. But maybe before we go into the report, we have noted the circulation of the report, which we have made available, which was not circulated for the first time. We circulated it after we made a briefing to the media on the 1st of December at the Tshwane Academy. Once we did that, we made the report available, including the press statement and the presentation that was made. I must place it on record that when the report was presented, we could not, and under no circumstance will we be able to go verbatim, page by page of that particular report. In our presentation, we would have made visible what the allegations were, what work has been done in investigating those allegations, including what the findings were. It is not an investigation that was conducted by the police. It is an investigation which was conducted by CPN Forensics, following the appointment by the National Commissioner. An issue which is also in the report, which I think it is important that it be dealt with, emanate from a 2009 matter which is referred loudly to a party hosted by me with state funds. And I think we need just to go into that. And somewhere we agree that the court processes will be respected. In 2009, an allegation was made that there was a birthday party which was funded out of public funds for me, then in my capacity as the Divisional Commissioner of Personnel Management. Following the allegations, a case was opened, an investigation was conducted. Unfortunately, 2 people were brought to court, they were arrested. That was my staff officer and a brigadier. Both these people, before a magistrate in Pretoria, were found not guilty and they were discharged. In actual fact, following the leading of evidence by those that had said there is a case to answer, they did not have to testify. An application was made in respect of section 714, which the magistrate granted, and thus they were found not guilty and they were discharged. I'm specifically referring to that, Chair, because it was one of those prominent matters that were featuring in the media to say people with fraud cases were not dealt with accordingly. It can't be factually correct. If people are unhappy with the outcomes of the court process, there are due processes where these matters must be ventilated. And it was proven beyond reasonable doubt that there was not a single cent that was used to fund the so-called birthday party of General Pahlane, because that was an official meeting. I thought that it is important that that is placed on record in advance. Secondly, Chair, we are not immune to investigations. We will subject ourselves to any process, which process is considered legitimate. It is not characterized by any irregularities. We will cooperate fully with competent authorities that are processing investigations. It is therefore a point to be made that we don't take kindly to a trial through the media, which has been the case. And many a times people arriving at conclusions from an uninformed perspective. We must respect the processes that are underway, and we are going to be presenting these reports. The intention is not to go into the merits of what is out there and all other matters that are to be before the courts. We will allow the opportunity or that process to run, and at an opportune moment we do so. Because this is a report, I'm going to ask Brigadier Kleinans, who is on the right-hand side of the Minister, to run through the presentation, and we are ready to answer questions and account in this regard, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. All protocol observed. Good morning. As the Acting National Commissioner indicated, thank you, Minister, we will do the presentation, which is, I cannot say a short, but a detailed summary of the public allegations against the Acting National Commissioner, Lieutenant General Pahlane, based on the report by CPN Forensics, informed by the 2012 allegations by POP-CRU. Now, if we look at the table of content, the presentation consists of 4 sections. The first one just being a brief background, then going into the allegations, audit findings and recommendations of CPN Forensics, and then the response from the SABC, a brief response. Section 3 will just indicate the disciplinary investigations, also referred to in the CPN report, against the so-called whistleblowers. And then in section 4, we will just briefly highlight the ongoing attempts to harm the integrity of our Acting National Commissioner, Lieutenant General Pashlani. I just need to indicate that throughout the presentations, when reference is made to ranks, that it was the ranks of those individuals at the time of the investigation or the report. Starting with the background. The background we just reflect in the form of a timeline. On the 25th of June in 2012, this is where it all started. PopCrew lodged an official complaint at the Office of the National Commissioner with various allegations of corruption and mismanagement, as well as serious derogatory accusations aimed at harming the reputation of the then Divisional Commissioner of Forensic Services, General Pashlani. In the same year, 7 September, PopCrew released a media statement levelled against General Pashlani. That is also where the General came to know about these allegations. On the 10th of September, 3 days later, General Pashlani then submitted a report to the Office of the National Commissioner, calling for an independent investigation into these scornful allegations. About 6 months later, the National Commissioner appointed CPN Forensics and Accounting Services as part of Ernst & Young to conduct the forensic audit at a cost of $733,000 to the SABC. Almost a year later, a report from the forensic audit was completed and submitted to the Office of the National Commissioner. A little bit more than a year after that, on the 30th of April 2015 only, did the report reach the Office of General Pashlani for inputs or comments. And then on the 1st of December, like our Acting National Commissioner indicated, on his initiative, we held a media briefing to communicate the content of this forensic audit as well as the outcomes. And then following that, a copy of the report was submitted to the Portfolio Committee. Looking at the scope of the CPN investigation, just in brief, the scope of the investigation is determined by the PopCrew allegations contained in their letter dated 25 June 2012. There you can see, I'm not going to read the entire slide, that the 6 bullets there will indicate to you what the allegations were. I can also only indicate here that you will see in the report there's 10 official allegations against the Lieutenant General Pashlani. However, it's not all the same that is listed here. It was as per arrangement with the National Commissioner at that stage, and it is stipulated as such in the report. I did refer to the disciplinary cases, and then this report details a summary of the facts which was available to CPN and the related findings at the time of the audit. And as stipulated in the report, some annexures referred to in the PopCrew letter dated June 2012 are incomplete despite several requests by CPN for further documentation. This is just a brief summary of the 10 allegations that I referred to previously. I'm not going to read through the list, as the remainder of the presentation will go into each allegation separately. Findings, recommendations, and the outcome. Looking at allegation number 1, the decommissioning of the Marshall system reference index system. The red-colored paragraphs indicates as stipulated by PopCrew. So you will see in most of the cases, it is in inverted commas. Allegations by PopCrew, Marshall system valued at 46 million is missing. Parts of the machine is sold to police officers and private people. Money was paid to these police officers, private people and companies, and the recreational club of a private company to the amount of 10,000. Some parts of the machine are kept and used in buildings of a private company. Here the private company referred to is Vertex. And there's a suggestion by PopCrew that management responded at that stage to Parliament as if they don't know where the system is. Looking at the findings of the audit, the decision by the Deputy Director of Public Prosecution not to prosecute anybody they found to be sound. No irregularity in respect of the procurement of services for the dismantling of the Marshall system. It was found that prescribed processes was followed and adhered to by the members of the SAPS. Available evidence does not indicate any financial loss for the SAPS. the retention of the parts of the system by Vertex actually resulted in a saving of just 103,000. There were two issues highlighted in the report under their findings: whether the conduct of the Forensic Science Laboratory to negotiate with Vertex for a reduced quotation was irregular or not, and the other issue, if Brigadier Joubert, who was then in charge of the biology section at national level, if his arrangement with Vertex to keep some of the components may be in conflict with prescripts governing the disposal processes. No evidence of misconduct by any serving member was found, and the suggestion by POP crew that management responded to Parliament as if they don't know where the system is was incorrect and misleading. And then the last finding in terms of allegation 1 by the audit team was that it's tested against all evidence. POP crew's allegations appear to be unfounded. The recommendation of CPN Forensics that it would serve no purpose to pursue the matter any further, as Brigadier Joubert is no longer a serving member of the SABC. Official response also submitted to the Office of the Public Protector. In view of lack of evidence to substantiate allegations of misconduct against any serving member of the SABC, the allegations are deemed to be unfounded, and according to our assessment, this matter requires no further attention and can therefore be regarded as finalized. If I may, can I continue with the following allegation? Thank you, General. Allegation 2, presentation to the Parliamentary Committee on backlog of cases at the FSL. POP crew alleged that the Divisional Commissioner's presentation to the Portfolio Committee during April 2012 on the reported backlog of 182 cases is fraudulent. They alleged that approximately 5,000 cases was not captured by the 23rd of April, and reference is also made in their allegation to video footage by the so-called whistleblowers allegedly taken a week after the presentation referred to, reflecting a backlog in counterfeit SA banknotes to the value of 5 million received for examination. Now, looking at the findings emanating from the forensic audit, the presence of the 2 bags during April 2012 was never disputed. The 2 SPV bags was indeed unattended to for quite some time. Statistics can be manipulated if cases are not registered on the system. No evidence was found that the Divisional Commissioner's presentation to the Parliamentary Portfolio Committee during April was indeed fraudulent. No evidence found that the 2 bags were purposefully not registered to avoid poor performance, and the possibility of manipulation of backlog statistics by not registering cases within a reasonable time is, however, not excluded. The recommendation by CPN is that a system they indicated that the system that was implemented during February 2013 in the question documents environment to address the instances where multiple bags with large quantities of exhibits are received from SPV or similar entities is supported. Official response: the measures implemented by SABC to curb future recurrence of the identified shortcomings was supported by the CPN audit team. An instruction was issued by the Divisional Commissioner of Forensic Services to the question document unit to have a bilateral with the banks to arrange for these SPV cases that evidence are not piled up but are submitted to the forensic service environment for analysis more frequently to ensure the faster processing and analysis thereof. The matter is also regarded as finalized. Allegation 3, procurement irregularities, goods not delivered at the CRC, the Criminal Record Center. Looking at the allegations by POP crew, not all goods purchased and paid for by the SAPS were received as expected from the supplier. The goods or the chemicals to the amount of 30 million not delivered by the supplier. Service providers then, in inverted commas, get approval from the Divisional Commissioner, for example, threatening a white male brigadier in an email with dismissal if payment to the service provider was not made. If we look at the findings of the audit team, The allegation by PopCrew that plus minus 30 million worth of items were paid for but not delivered by the supplier is not substantiated by supporting evidence. These documents only indicate that at some stage an amount of 29.7 million still had to be paid to the supplier. PopCrew's allegation, above-mentioned allegation, could also not be substantiated by the financial investigation done by CPN. The following part, I will just highlight the what was the issues that was substantiated by the financial investigation. The double payment that was found was rectified. The record of financial documents incomplete and not conducive for proper control. They also found that a number of outstanding delivery notes is of great concern should reconciliation with the SABC 24, our stock register, not prove delivery. Payments made should be regarded as losses and dealt with in terms of the Public Finance Management Act and the Treasury regulations. Then the drastic escalation of expenditure within a short period deserves further investigation. Also, the increase in orders shortly before the expiry of the contract. The quality of certain chemicals and canisters supplied by the supplier seems questionable. Continuing with the findings, the needs assessment done by Brigadier Diko, who is in charge of crime scene management, recommended by General Kano and approved by General Pashlane, did not comply with the prescripts of Standing Order Stores 2. Brigadier Diko did not consult with the end users in respect of the needs when ordering and distributing stock. His explanation that increase in orders was to address the depletion in 2010 does not seem entirely correct. General Pashlane centralized delivery of chemicals to exercise better control since the supplier's invoice system was obviously flawed. This system did, however, hold certain risk for the SABs. The supplier benefited from VAT-inclusive prices without being registered for VAT and without having paid such VAT over to SARS. And the last finding in terms of allegation 3 is that it appears that there may have been collusion between crime tech laboratories and criminalistic with regards to contract RT 152-2011. If both bidded for RT 152-2013, there may have been collusion and the declarations of interests may be false. Now, looking at the recommendations of CPN, they recommended that a detailed audit should be done on the outstanding delivery notes, invoices, comparison of orders, the payments, and then the SAP 24 registers. And it should also then include the determination whether a credit note, which reflected on the system at the time of the audit, was indeed converted into real value for the department. The needs assessment system, in accordance with the prescripts that Standing Order Stores 2, should be implemented in collaboration with demand management and should include the inputs from the provincial heads, CR and CSM, as well as the local criminal record centres. Where losses occurred as a result of chemicals that expired because of overstocking, then investigations in terms of the PFMA and Treasury regulations should be done. A proper independent scientific testing of samples of chemicals in the criminal record centre and local criminal record centre stores of the crime scene laboratory should be done to ascertain whether products supplied was indeed of inferior quality. Issues regarding the prima facie VAT irregularities committed by the supplier should be reported to SARS for further investigation and action. And then the possible collusion between crime tech laboratories and criminalistic, the prima facie misrepresentation by them, the two companies, and the irregularities committed with regards to VAT should be reported to National Treasury for consideration. Now, if we can, that was the recommendations. If we go to the official response or the outcomes, a range of investigations was indeed summoned by the Divisional Commissioner of Forensic Services, General Pashlane, in respect of the allegations around the consumables of the criminal record centres and local criminal record centres. An audit was done on the outstanding delivery notes, the invoices, as well as the credit note in 2012 already. The audits were conducted looking at the orders, the delivery notes, the invoices, the payments were consolidated. And I can also confirm today that that credit note referred to in the CPN report was indeed converted into real value. And evidence in that regard is also available. Procurement and delivery of chemicals. Crimetech was the supplier. Crimetech was contracted by National Treasury. Contract reference RT152-2010. For the supply and delivery of the photographic, micrographic, reproduction materials, storage devices, chemicals and powders for the development of fingerprints for photographic purposes on evidence to the state. So it's all departments, not only to the SAPS. The contract period was from December to 2013. I know it's been renewed, I think 2011, 2013. In compliance with the procurement prescripts, this I'm going to refer to the CR and CSM when I talk criminal record and crime scene management. The CR and CSM environment procured chemicals from Crimetech, which, as per arrangement with the supplier, was delivered at a central point, which is the Loctech store in Pretoria. And then the consumables were redistributed from there to the end users as provided for in the RT152 contract. Now, the reason for the delivery at a central point was to manage the supply and distribution informed by the need of the end users, and then also to ensure that we can check the stock to ensure that it is received in good order and have not expired. The submission of the acknowledgement of the receipt there and then, and the processing of payments within 30 days of receipt of the valid invoice. Continuing with our official response, looking at the procurement and delivery of the chemicals, there is no evidence that expired chemicals were delivered and received in Pretoria. When the reference are made to these alleged expired chemicals, you would find that it would have expired whilst in the stores of the respective end users, talking about the local criminal record centres in the provinces, because of, amongst others, poor stock level management, which is a given fact. Processing of bids for supply and delivery of fingerprint powders, powder suspensions, fingerprint brushes, tape lifters and other fingerprint consumables to SABC. Precautionary measures were taken to make compulsory a compliance certificate of analysis and a material safety data sheet, in short referred to as the MSDS, for every batch of chemicals supplied in accordance with the relevant legislative requirements. We approached both the CSIR and the SABC to assist in the testing of the so-called expired chemicals. However, they could not assist due to the MSDS certificate and the certificate of compliance not being available, as it was not a requirement in the contract at that stage. However, the Division Forensic Services then embarked on our own study to establish the effectiveness of the so-called expired chemicals in forensic processing to ensure that we are not contravening any standards. In the testing of the expired the so-called expired chemicals, emanated from discussions during a performance review session, which was conducted quarterly and initiated by Lieutenant General Pashlani to ensure accountability by all the managers within the division. During one of these review sessions, concerns were raised with regards to large quantities of expired chemicals in crime scene laboratories and local criminal record centres. The crime scene laboratory technicians also then preferred to use the chemicals, they called it the expired versus the valid, which is not the right terminology, but for the purposes of the presentation and for clearer understanding, I'm going to call it that. The indication was that those where the due date or the expiry date already lapsed, with inverted commas, worked better as those the new ones received. That was the allegations. However, it's an allegation, and obviously as management, the instruction was given that allegations by the technicians had to be validated, and we need to have a scientific decision in terms of that. So it was only allegations. That's why I'm saying those allegations, but then the actual testing took place. Now, 2 sets of chemical, subsequent to these discussions, we established 2 teams to run tests on all the pre-mixed chemical reagents in the crime scene laboratory environment. The 2 groups from the Pietermaritzburg and Kroonstad, and then 2 sets of chemical reagents were utilized. And then the chemical reagents in the crime scene laboratories didn't have a certificate of analysis, MSDS, batch numbers, and manufacturing date, as it wasn't a bid requirement, but the expiry dates were well labeled on the outside of the boxes. The methodology that was used during the testing of this project, the testing of the chemicals in this project was indeed in line with the UK Home Office Manual 2nd edition of 2005. The findings of these tests, the majority of the chemical reagents had produced comparable results. Contrast of results was almost comparable, in some cases, superiority of the expired ones versus the valid ones, based on the observations through the naked eye. The chemical reagents were referred to the SABC and CSIR for further analysis and validation. However, again, they could not assist us because they were looking for the certificate of analysis, material safety data sheets, and then the batch numbers and manufacturing dates. Going to the reported incidents associated with the aerospray canisters and the that exploded or leaked. That links with the finding to the allegedly inferior products provided by the supplier. A number of incidents were indeed reported where aerospray canisters exploded and or leaked while in use on the crime scene, in transit or in storage. The incidents was reported to quality management and the criminal record and crime scene management environment. It was investigated internally, as required by the Occupational Health and Safety Act, by visiting the site where the incident occurred, interviewing the affected members as well as the witnesses to the incidents. The aerospray canisters were subjected then to laboratory tests and conducted by experts from Forensic Science Laboratory, the subsection Mechanical Engineering, as well as our chemistry section. Continuing with the reported incidents with the aerospray canisters, relevant literature and check documentation such as the MSDS was sourced from the supplier after identifying that the aerospray canisters were supplied without the necessary MSDS. The factory visit was arranged to inspect the production and the packaging process of the canisters, and on the 5th of June 2014, a team consisting of crime scene management and quality management visited the factory, alleged to have been involved in the production and the packaging of the aerospray canisters. And as part of a preventative measure to curb the reoccurrence of such incidents, 1,092 heat-resistant bags were acquired in February of 2012 to aid in controlling the temperature variance of the aerosol spray canisters. A decision on the way forward was taken that any chemical and reagent procurement detailed specifications must be compiled to include the chemical composition, the concentration, legislative and packaging requirements to ensure 100% supplier and product compliance. No chemical shall be accepted for delivery without a compliant MSDS certificate of analysis per batch or lot number supplied. Recommendations in respect of the rectifying identified administrative shortcomings were noted, and measures implemented by the FSL management to curb future recurrence. That now refers to the findings of the CPN audit team in terms of the number of outstanding delivery notes, the administration processes within the supply chain management environment. Then the recommendations regarding the reporting of the supplier to SARS and Treasury for VAT irregularities was noted, and for implementation, the SABS Division Supply Chain Management has indeed been notified for the matter, about the matter to be reported to the above-mentioned authorities. And then supply chain management processes and prescripts are strictly adhered to without deviation within the Division Forensic Services. This is stipulated here because each and every application for procurement of any goods or services submitted to Lieutenant General Pashlane, at the time the Divisional Commissioner of Forensic Services, when approved, the General would clearly state that all prescripts, supply chain and finance prescripts must be complied with without any deviation. So the instruction is very clear on all procurement, irrespective of the supplier. Then provincial task teams were also established in 2012 by Lieutenant General Pashlane to conduct on-site inspections at the LCRCs and the crime scene laboratories to go and identify the shortcomings and also to provide support in addressing these shortcomings, such as stock level management. It also includes personal visits to the local criminal record centers by General Pashlane in person. And in addition to that, the poor-performing local criminal record center commanders were indeed summoned to attend our quarterly performance review sessions to come and account when it comes to poor service delivery or non-compliance to prescripts. Coming to our last slide on allegation 3. The increased payments to the supplier 2010-11 and 12-13. I've got the report here with me. I did not want to repeat the CPN report in the presentation, but I will read the amounts to you. The payments did incline significantly due to the increased demands of chemicals. The maintenance costs and training offered in relation to the use of the specialized equipments and the items between 2010-11 and 11-12. And the increased need for consumables is also informed as a result of the increase in the cases reported to the Forensic Services Division. Here in specific, I refer to the crime scenes attended and processed. If I can just go, if you can allow me to just go to the amounts referred to in the CPN report, paid to the specific supplier. In 2010-11, according to the findings of the CPN report, for the 2010-11 financial year, it was 9.7 million. Now, the concern was, why then in 2011-12 did the annual payment to the supplier increase to 33.8 million? And then in 2012-13, it was 22.9 million. Now, the reason for that is very clear. The contract in 2010-11, when the 9.7 million amount was paid to the supplier, the contract was awarded in the middle of 2010, which means that this 9.7 million basically speaks to orders for the period of about 6 months. Now, in 2011-12, the payment was indeed 33.8 million, but the orders progressively increased after the awarding of the contract, which is standardized practices within contract management. And in 2011-12, the expenditure then stabilized and the contract ended and was renewed in 2011-12. Now, you will see in 2010-11, the 6 months, 9.7, yes, the need becomes more. There's more pressure to produce, to attend crime scenes, to effectively process those crime scenes. As the portfolio committee, you will know that in forensic services, there was and still is an emphasis on the proper processing of crime scenes. And then, as I said, the 22.9 million reflected for the 2012-13 period indeed indicates to us that there was there was a stabilization in that specific financial year. I just, for interest's sake, included the improved performance by the crime scene management environment, which reflects the cases reported and attended to by crime scene management personnel. You will see that between 2010-11 and 11-12, there was 18.9% increase, which is actually 68,865 more crime scenes having been attended to by the environment. Then, looking at our positive rate, there was an increase of 16.5% between 2010-11 and 11-12. And then I'm only focusing on 10, 11, and 11, 12 because the question was raised between the 9 million and the 33 million. Our identification rate increased by 59% between 2010, 11 and 11, 12. So production and expenditure can be linked. If I can go to allegation 4, the procurement irregularities, Eastern Cape. The allegation by PopCrew then read that a Pretoria-based official acknowledged receipt of goods received in the Eastern Cape. Now, CPN audit team said, due to the lack of information, no further investigation was conducted. Official response from SABC, since no information regarding the allegations could be provided upon request by the auditors, it can be concluded that the matter requires no further attention. Allegation number 5, human resources, the fraud case, that the Acting National Commissioner did refer to during his introduction. PopCrew's allegation that senior SABC members attended the hearing of a fraud case against Lieutenant Colonel Murgia Pillay and former Brigadier Malebe Tema without authorization or having taken leave for that period, and that no disciplinary action was instituted against Colonel Murgia Pillay for committing fraud against the SABC. Now, looking at the findings of the audit team, findings that the entire process by the SABC was tainted from the start, referring to the complaint, the opening of the document, retaking of statements, the arrest, as well as the sourcing of the evidence. Investigating division should have informed the section head of support forensic services when the investigation was initiated and a decision was taken to prosecute. It would have been unreasonable to have expected Lieutenant General Pashlani to decide on disciplinary action as he was directly involved as a potential witness. A higher authority such as General Libya did not bring forth a final decision to resolve the matter. Any further process to institute disciplinary action had become completely time delay since the actual event, the resignation of one of the members involved, the investigation that took almost 2 years to be completed, and then the judgment of the criminal court already addressed the merits of the case, as referred to by General Pashlani earlier. Then completing the findings of the audit team, the correct procurement process was followed to secure and pay for the venue on the date in question. 3 senior members did indeed attend the court case, as the Office of the Divisional Commissioner had official interest in the outcome of the criminal case. PopCrew's allegation in this regard is therefore viewed as trivial or insignificant. The recommendation by CPN that no action to be taken against the implicated members who attended the court case, and the allegation in respect of the lack of disciplinary action against Colonel Murgia Pillay, the recommendation is that no further action should be taken. The official response by SABC, the comments and recommendations in the report duly noted, since reasons for not taking disciplinary steps were accepted, this matter requires no further attention and is thus regarded as finalized. Allegation number 6 of 10, human resources irregular payments, which refers to the scarce skills allowance. Allegations by PopCrew that officers Mushlala and Ngodi receive scarce skills allowance, in the present tense, receive scarce skills allowance even though they only have 3 months service. A relevant policy allegedly provides that a member must have 5 years service to qualify for such an allowance. General Shezi is receiving scarce skills allowance despite being in support services and not being regarded as an expert. PopCrew further alleged that Administration Clerk Bafana, who is actually warrant officer in Shlapo, receives the allowance despite being insufficiently qualified. Last allegation, Warrant Officer Ramalepe lodged a grievance because he did not receive the allowance. Looking at the findings, in terms of Mushlala, and remember this is not the SABC findings, it's the audit findings as recorded in the audit report. Mushlala, allegation unsubstantiated, the member never received scarce skills allowance. In terms of Ngodi, if provisions regulated awarding of scarce skills allowance as it was in 2006 were applicable in 2011, when the member entered into the agreement, then the scarce skills allowance granted would have been irregular, as the two criteria relating to qualifications and experience were not met. In terms of General Shezi, if it is established that the category under which he performed services was not a recognized scarce skills category, then the investigation into possible fruitless, wasteful and irregular expenditure in terms of the PFMA and Treasury regulations should be done. If indeed the case, cognizance must also be taken that a willful manipulation of policy may be deducted from the fact that the scarce skills allowance certificate may have been manipulated. Then the last finding in this regard, Mr. Nhlapu, the allegation is unsubstantiated. The member never received scarce skills allowance. Looking at the two recommendations by the audit team, in terms of Ngodi, SAP should initiate investigation into possible fruitless, wasteful and irregular expenditure. And the second recommendation, in terms of General Shezi, that the SAP should also initiate an investigation into possible fruitless, wasteful and irregular expenditure. The response and outcomes from the SAPS, Mushlala, as we know, allegation unsubstantiated. That is why it is regarded as finalized. In terms of Ngodi, an internal verification process was launched, which indicated that the employee was exposed to extensive training and development prior to resumption of his duties and was provided with extensive mentorship and upon completion of the training. He then performed specialized duties for a period of 3 years, which then qualified him for receipt of this allowance. The above action was well within the legal requirements as per directive. There's the, I'm not going to read the directive's reference, it's there, and then thus the matter is regarded as finalized. In terms of General Shezi, upon assessment of the qualifications, experience, as well as the criteria of the scarce skills policy, this office is satisfied that the officer did qualify for the allowance. The policy requires that one or more of the criteria, as per paragraph 6.1, be present for consideration of the allowance, and General Shezi, at that time a colonel, did indeed qualify, thus the matter is regarded as finalized. In terms of Warrant Officer Nhlapu, comments to the effect that POPCRU's allegations are without substance are noted, and the matter is regarded as finalized. And then the grievance of Ramalepe, comments to the effect that the member registered a grievance which has its own dispute resolution procedure noted, and thus regarded as finalized. In terms of allegation 7, human resources irregular appointments, allegations by POPCRU. Number 1, that the following members were irregularly appointed in their posts: Brigadier Morapedi, Brigadier Mulawa, Brigadier De Wit, which is me, Brigadier Kleinhans, Colonel Daku, Colonel van der Hammen, Lieutenant Colonel Mashabela, and Warrant Officer Bafana, again it's Nhlapu. And allegation number 2, that an African female and a white female one, and I am quoting, both are brigadiers employed at the FSL, have been impregnated by the acting national commissioner. Now, I put a question mark there because at the time of the report, General Pashlani was not the acting national commissioner, and that they both have kids out of this relationship, unquote. Yes. Then the findings of the audit team in terms of Brigadier Morapedi's appointment. I'm instructed to say that I'm one of them. The brigadiers that was impregnated by the acting national commission. Going to the findings, on a more serious note, the appointment of Brigadier Morapedi, the appointment process was, the findings, appointment process irregular, based on errors relating to her qualifications. Disqualification now refers to the completion of the application. The incorrect procedure relevant to the absence of a panel member during the procedure and the provisions of National Instruction 4 of 2010, incorrectly applied in respect of her experience. The findings with regard to Brigadier Mulawa, allegations in respect of the sexual relationship unsubstantiated. The National Commissioner approved Brigadier Mulawa's appointment based on a panel's recommendations centered around equity. Technically, she qualified with regard to years experienced and her preceding rank. Brigadier Kleinhans, they reflected as to it. The allegation in respect of the sexual relationship is unsubstantiated. The appointment in terms of Section 45 of the Police Act, she only served plus minus 2 years in the rank of a colonel, therefore she did not qualify for the relevant promotion to the rank of a brigadier. Colonel Daku, limited procedural information, no indication that appointment was in contradiction to the relevant prescripts. However, dispute referral documentation may show otherwise. A detailed interview with the relevant person at personnel management is required before a finding can be made. Going to the last three, Colonel van der Hammen, the allegation is without substance as the member took a lateral transfer. Lieutenant Colonel Mashabela did not apply for a post, a grievance, and the grievance was not related to the filling of the post, but about her subsistence allowance. Thus, the allegation in respect of her allegedly irregular appointment is deemed unfounded. In terms of Warrant Officer Nhlapu, Popcru's allegation is without substance. Recommendations by the CPN team: Brigadier Morapedi, appointment to be reviewed at national level. Brigadier Mulawa, allegation regarding sexual relationship unfounded, matter regarded to be finalized, and the matter relevant to her appointment to also be regarded as finalized. In terms of Brigadier de Wit, Kleinhans, allegation regarding sexual relationship unfounded, matter to be regarded as finalized, appointment to be reviewed at national level. Colonel Daku, detailed interview with the relevant person at personnel management required to clarify this issue. Alternatively, the findings of the SABC be awaited and once obtained considered. Colonel van der Hammen, as indicated on the previous slide, the allegation by Popcru is deemed as unfounded, matter regarded as finalized. In terms of Colonel Mashabela, who never applied for a post, there is no recommendation by the audit team, and Warrant Officer Nhlapu, Popcru's allegation unfounded. Now looking at the official response, in terms of Colonel Daku, due to service delivery considerations, the Divisional Commissioner Forensic Services retained the service of the officer in Pretoria and filled the post in the Eastern Cape laterally. No further attention is required. The matter is regarded as finalized. Colonel van der Hammen, as indicated on the previous slide, unsubstantiated allegation regarded as finalized. In terms of Brigadier Morapedi, however, the appointment file was perused, and it was determined that the officer met the minimum requirements of the post as advertised. Proper shortlisting processes was conducted according to the relevant prescripts, and the officer does possess the required qualifications and experience for the post. This office is satisfied that nothing was amiss in the process and the matter is regarded as finalized. In terms of Colonel Mashabela, the comments to the effect that this member was also one of the complainants who registered a grievance on the matter was noted. The member did not apply for any post. The matter is regarded as finalized. In terms of Nhlapu, unfounded allegation, finalized. Brigadier Mulawa, allegations of intimate relationship between Brigadier Mulawa and General Pashlani is unfounded and the matter is regarded as finalized. The same goes for the intimate relationship with myself. And in terms of the all issues relating to the appointment were reviewed as recommended, and it can be reported that the officer was appointed in terms of the provisions of Regulation 45 of the SAPS Employment Regulations 2008. Going to allegation number 8, the theft of narcotics and a rhino horn from the FSL. The allegation by pop crew that numerous narcotics and a rhino horn was stolen from the FSL. It is alleged that CCTV footage has been viewed by General Pashlane showing the theft of narcotics by an ex-FSL employee who is currently in prison following his conviction of the theft of a rhino horn. The other two allegations is that no disciplinary steps were taken against the suspect, and the analysts colluded by falsely indicating that the rhino horn was that of a cow. Okay. Now, the findings of the audit team from 2007 to date, 15 cases of theft of drugs were reported to the SAPS Silverton Police Station for investigation, and 6 of the 15 cases are linked to one docket. Not enough emphasis are placed on investigation of missing exhibits when reported. No arrests made. In all cases, negligence by members who handed the exhibits over are of a concern. Only one case of theft of rhino horn, and that was the member from the FSL who was convicted and sentenced. The CPN forensics team then recommended that effective crime intelligence gathering projects should be initiated and run at the Forensic Science Laboratory to identify the suspects involved in the theft of drug exhibits. Due to the time lapse, it is recommended that no disciplinary action be instituted for the negligent conduct of employees. The second finding is that the storage facilities at the Forensic Science Laboratory are indeed inadequate. The necessary high-tech security requirements, including but not limited to an adequate CCTV system and restrictive fingerprint biometric access controls to all areas, should be considered to ensure the safekeeping, storage and destruction of such exhibits. Response, our outcomes, the matters relating to the security and the storage at the FSL was attended to already prior to the conclusion of this investigation. CCTV cameras were installed in all chemistry section laboratories and drugstores. Security officers on the level of a warrant officer were appointed for managing the security system and ensuring effective monitoring of the CCTV cameras. The cameras are monitored from the security control room on a 24-hour basis. The chemistry section laboratories, as well as relevant exhibit stores at the Forensic Science Laboratory facility in Silverton, which is the one referred to in the forensic audit, is equipped with biometric access control. Drugstores at the Supply Chain Management Block E in Silverton is not yet equipped with a biometric access. However, CCTV cameras were already installed there. And there are continuous engagement with the FSL management to improve the security and optimize the storage facility or the storage space within the limits of the budget. Allegation number 9, human resources, disregard of organizational structure. Only a few slides to go. The allegation by Pop Crew, posts at the Criminal Records Center were filled, disregarding the absence of the organizational structure. Findings of the audit team, due to lack of information provided by Pop Crew, no finding can be made, thus no recommendation, and the official response or the outcome, given the fact that there is a lack of substance of the allegations, the matter can only be regarded as finalized. The last allegation, reckless neglect of duties. With specific, there is the CAS number that they refer to, the allegation by Pop Crew that Colonel Matabula made a misrepresentation to court by alleging that it was not possible to allocate an urgent case. There's the Soshanguve case for handwriting analysis due to a shortage of senior analysts who at that time allegedly were abroad. The findings of the audit, Colonel Matabula only came to know about the case 2 days prior to the next court date, and both experts were in France at the time. Colonel Matabula had no choice but to request postponement of the court date. Remember, these are the findings of the audit team, not us, not the SABS. The email by Colonel Ramolobe, copied to General Pashlane, appears to be a malicious attack, and processes within the question document environment are inadequate. Looking at the recommendations, Of the audit team, the audit of the policies and processes within the question document unit section to be conducted to identify and improve on any weaknesses and potential risks. And the last recommendation, consider streamlining the overlap of duties relating to case management and case allocation. The response, as outlined in the report, the assessment of the working procedures within any specialized environment is a continuous process. The assessment of working procedures was conducted and the relevant procedure manuals compiled. Continuous processes are in place to ensure the proper service delivery to the clients of the question document environment. And the comments regarding the incorrect allegations by POPCRU in respect of the response to the complaints are noted and the matter is regarded as finalized. If I can finish the presentation on the disciplinary investigations. I touch on this because it forms part of the CPN report. We didn't want to leave out any part thereof. This slide refers to the disciplinary investigations, the acts of the alleged misconduct against the so-called whistleblowers. They are being investigated for the following acts of misconduct. If you look at Warrant Officer Ramalepe, Malachi, and Ramolobe, Colonel Ramolobe, the alleged misconduct is the copying during assessment exams by external service provider. The departmental investigation was already initiated in November 2011, way before this whole timeline thing started. The current status, it's still pending. The members requested that the investigation be placed in abeyance pending the finalization of the CPN forensic audit. I need to mention that Lieutenant Colonel Ramolobe since resigned on the 1st of February 2016. In terms of Warrant Officer Ramalepe, the alleged misconduct is insubordination was during a meeting with his commanders. Departmental investigation was initiated in September 2016. It's still in progress, and it can be stated that these acts of the alleged misconduct is not related to the whistleblowing. Now, just referring to the ongoing attempts to bring into disrepute the integrity of our Acting National Commissioner, Lieutenant General Pashlane, there has been numerous attempts since 2012 to harm the reputation of Lieutenant General Pashlane and bring his integrity into disrepute. Repetition of allegations made by POPCRU, it's the same issues over and over and over again that is in the newspapers and all over social media, as covered in the forensic audit by the CPN Forensics and Accounting Services. So it's not new allegations. The allegations is the same as here. And just to give you some of the media headlines. From the 7th of September, the 2 in 2012, sexual harassment and sabotage at police lab, comes from the union. September 2012, corruption at forensic lab, sabotages, convictions. June 2013, cop versus cop in slander spat. Again, August 2015, police question forensic supplies. April 2016, SAP suspends colonel who blew the whistle on Pashlane. May 2016, forensic supply firm wins 30 million SAP's contract despite contravening tax law, as if the general awards the treasury contracts. June 2016, South Africa's top cop sues union for 500Ks. 7 September 2016, corruption in police lab, POPCRU. I thought, now let me just stop there, but it brings out the message that we wanted to convey. And maybe just to end off our presentation with your approval, I couldn't help but just include this quote, is that wisdom is knowing the right path to take, but integrity is taking that path. I thank you.
Thank you, Brigadier. Any further comments before we start with the questions?
Thanks, Honorable Chair. Let me, in closing the presentation, make some comments before the Minister say much. It has been an onslaught since 2009. Same allegations over and over again. It is tiring, but that is not at all going to make us lose the focus in the work that we are supposed to be doing. On the contrary, I think it should be a reason why we must do more in ensuring that the mandate of the police is being realized in practice. There is the report. It is not a report that was concocted somewhere. It is a report that the National Commissioner had appointed people to do the investigation. And the report is available. I can't help it if people are not happy with the outcomes of that investigation. Let me place it on record, Chair, that ordinarily, when investigations are conducted against you or against a group, at some point, those that are being fingered are to be approached to get their side of the story. It was never the case. Even in the case of 2009, when there were allegations of, a birthday party, at no point did anyone deem it fit to approach me or any of those that were implicated to obtain their version before they wasted the court's time in that regard. Similarly, with this report which we are tabling before you, at no point did anyone approach me to verify and obtain my side of the story in as far as these allegations are concerned. In actual fact, there was a correspondence from the National Commissioner's Office, which was directing us, those in forensic services, not to make an input or to be approached at all. And that applies to me, General Shezi, and the people that were implicated in the report. It is also important, Chair, to know that many of these things that are alleged, particularly in this report, are some of the reasons that made the then National Commissioner, General Cele, to deploy me in forensic services. I don't even know how a marshal system looks like, because by the time I arrived there, it was nowhere. But it happens to be one of those issues that I would have mismanaged. And I think there are a number, the losses, on drugs. We initiated the lodging of those cases before and had them investigated at the stations and so on. And if the Director of Public Prosecutions makes a decision that there is no basis for follow-up, why must it be my issue? We continued every year to be answering questions around these things. The same applies to, in the report somewhere, mention is being made of a Colonel Mansami, who talks about, chemicals. For your information, the office he is managing is not even having a laboratory. So they could not have been delivery to his office because he doesn't have a laboratory. He happens to have been made part of the team that was doing inspections and evaluations. That's where, instead of him doing his work, he went and took pictures thereof and started saying expired chemicals and so on. It is the same person who's working and with Paul O'Sullivan say allegations. He was unable to provide any substance to the allegations that were made by him during the forensic investigation. It is the very same allegations that they are running around out there with. The only new thing with those allegations is that there is now a house which is supposedly built for 8 million rands, and I'm supposed to be having vehicles to the tune of 4.3. I saw figures 4.3 million, 4.4 million. I'm supposed to have been bought a sound system of 80,000 rands. Chair, we will want to focus on our work, and as I said earlier, it is important that we cooperate with any competent authority charged with the responsibility to do investigations. I was ready to cooperate with CPN Forensics They have produced a report. I can't have issues with that report because in any event I was not party to. Now we deal with these other allegations where a person masquerade as, on one occasion, he's a whistleblower, one occasion he's a complainant, one occasion he's a witness, he's a lead investigator. Somewhere I see he's an expert. Now, just to place it on record, Chair, from January last year, 2016, I started receiving emails from Paul O'Sullivan. In actual fact, there was an email that it was a text message where he was asking for my email address. When I saw the text, him asking for my email address, I did not respond because I was shocked that someone like him would want to work with me on anything, and I was not interested. 2-3 weeks later, I started receiving messages. One, he's saying to me, I have been reporting to General Pierre and General Sitole the conduct and corrupt practices of Lieutenant General Monu. He happens to have been the Divisional Commissioner of Detective Services. And he's saying to me, they have not taken any action, and it goes on over a period. At some point, he is now giving me deadlines, and I did not respond to any of his emails because my view is, if you have got anything against anyone, and there is no hidden agenda, go to a police station, go and lay a charge there. It will be investigated. So, what type of a complaint is this one which is directed at me, and I get instructions from him? Suspend Monu, dismiss Monu. I'm being given deadlines. Within 14 days, you must have done this. Within this period, you must have done that. I thought he was out of order. I never responded to any of those until he found his cordial relationship with Monsami. And at some point, he started saying, now I have got something against you. There is a long statement which was sent to me and to IPIT. I know at some point he said, I'm going to the UK, I'm going to expose you with the Zuptas, you are part of the Zuptas, and so on. Those are the kind of communications that I've been receiving. So, Chair, up to when everything went to the media, no one officially has ever told me that you are under investigation. Until I was phoned by the builder of my house who said to me, there were people here, and 4 of them, 2 whites, 2 Africans. They were led by this white male who said they are investigators from IPIT. And the one person who was leading is Paul O'Sullivan. It became very suspicious when I was hearing that. I said to him, well, if there are people asking questions, provide them with answers. But I was very concerned with the involvement of this private person. At that point, no one officially had said to me that you are under investigation. The next moment, of course, the builder tells me this man was leading the interviewees, asking questions and so on. The next moment, he called me again and said, General, Paul O'Sullivan is back here. I am refusing him access. I can't say open for him because I don't know what his intentions are. He left. Now, it is after that second call, Chair, that I got consent because now I'm hearing these people were at the estate where I'm living. I now call the estate manager just to check where there are people at my house, because if anyone was to go to my house, there is a security, and it is standard practice. Those are the rules of estate, that you will be called, someone will ask, will say, I'm going to the house, and for me it doesn't matter whether it's people who are doing investigations or not. I would have said, allow them. So I'm asking, he comes back to me, the estate manager, and say, General, we are very sorry, there were 4 people here, who said they are busy with a confidential investigation. He gives me the business card. He sends me a copy of the business card, which is of a Mahlangu, one of the IPT investigators, as well as the pictures of the vehicle that they were traveling in. It's a Ford sedan. When we tested the registration numbers of that vehicle, it turns out to be Paul O'Sullivan's car, which they came through with. That day passed. I think a day or so later, he called me and said, General, there was a lady, one of those that was here, who was asking for your building plans and so on. And he's telling me I refused. Now, I'm saying this to tell what led to the so-called defeating the ends of justice, because it was the following week on a Tuesday that I received a call from Mr. Nkabinde, who said he's an IPT official and that I'm investigating the defeating the ends of justice against you. And that was the very first official call, other than the media telling me about it. The following morning, there was a journalist, Louis Peter Mayberg or something like that, who directs question at me, wanting to know about the investigation and the fact that I'll be doing a warning statement that day. I was surprised that that could be the case, because the person that had called me the previous day was yet to meet with me and tell me what the matter is. They came to my house, Chair, or they came to the office. I think I set up a date for the 12th of December where they did not come. That is now for Nkabinde to meet with me. He never came. And now in January, that's when they came to my office and said to me, defeating the ends of justice and corruption relating to the sound system. Now, I've been hearing all the time about a house. By the way, even in the emails that comes from Paul O'Sullivan, the amounts escalate every time. I think when he thinks of Pahlane, then there is a value that comes. Because it started 3.5 million, 4 point something million, then it was 6 million, 8 million, and 10 million were the last figures. So the guy said to me, what is it, corruption relating to the sound system. And after listening to them, I said, give me the questions in writing, I will respond. And while they were still there in my office, breaking news, the media is at my house, including one of their witnesses, who happens to have been the employee in that particular space. Breaking news, the house is being raided. But the people that were supposed to be raiding my house are still sitting with me in the office. I gave them proof of purchase to say, this is the thing that you're to, and Chair, it has been made an 80,000 rand system. I mean, it's not only a music system or a sound system, which is there. There are TVs and so on. They are very clear. I give them proof in my office of the payment that was processed from me into the bank of account of Sounds Great. And this guy just said to me, oh, General, you know, you guys, they're up there, when you are fighting, we get dragged into this. I say, this has got nothing to do with fighting with whoever. I am now showing you proof of what you were alleging. It has been given to me as a present. My driver who was interviewed, the one who was with me then as a Divisional Commissioner Personnel Services, again, it was O'Sullivan leading. He was with Mahlangu and a lady. And in the middle of the interview, as they go through and they are not getting the answers they're looking for, he said to him, remember, you are a white man. If you do not tell the truth, and you will lose your job, and you will not be employed anywhere. So, Chair, I'm mentioning all this to say, while we have said that we are going to cooperate with any competent authority to conduct investigations, it cannot be that the abuse is left unattended. It is for that reason that I am on record as having said we are going to be instituting legal proceedings in this regard for the courts of our country to decide on the matter. We are not shaken. We'll continue to do our work. I thought I must raise that the emphasis on the fact that these are not new allegations. They continue to be peddled by the very same people over and over again. The shocker to me was this report when it was released as if it's a scoop coming from somewhere. While Chair, we volunteered this report to the honorable members of the committee with an understanding that this is not only a matter which is out there. October, November 2012, we were before the Portfolio Committee. That is after these allegations were made. And there was a commitment made that an investigation is going to be conducted. The committee asked for the feedback to be provided on that. So when we provided the copy of the report after the briefing of the 1st of December, it was precisely to honor the commitment that was made then to say the report will be tabled. I thought I must say the following, Minister. I'm going to stop there.
Minister, anything to add?
No, honourable Chair, honourable members, I'm fine. I think we probably can now enter into an area of discussion pertaining to this matter. Just for your information, honourable Chair, when the report refers to a Major General Shezi, who was also there at the time, it refers to the lady seated on the right, on the left of the acting national commissioner. Of course, the lady on my right is allegedly the girlfriend to to the acting national commissioner here, and I was whispering to her that they produce very interesting people, the two of them, I suspect. Nevertheless, yeah, but yeah, for me, honourable Chair, honourable members, for me is to then listen out to the engagement and the discussion arising out of this particular engagement. Thank you very much, honourable Chair.
Thank you, Minister, and the delegation for the presentation. I will allow 3 questions per member for the first round. 3. Yeah, I see the hands. I'll take the first 3, and then we will go from Honourable Mamula. Maybe just in terms of the report that was now presented and also given to the committee last year, I think what's going to be essential, if there's any outstanding issues still that needs to be investigated or finalized, whereas the portfolio committee will need a kind of summary of that in the next 2 weeks. What's outstanding? Is there any other steps flowing from this report that needs to be done? Then I want to ask the Acting National Commissioner 2 issues that's in the public domain. And in terms of good corporate governance, I must ask you this. And from the Portfolio Committee, we've got a responsibility to ask questions like that. The first is, it was reported in the public domain that you were given a vehicle as a sponsorship. I think it's a bakkie by a businessman. I just want to know, in terms of that, was that declared in terms of the declaration of interest of SABC, in terms of top management or your post level? And then it was also reported in the public domain that one of the service providers of SABC, you asked a specific person to assist you with interior decorating. I just want to know, from a corporate governance point of view, was that proper? Shouldn't there be at all times be blue water between yourselves and any service provider of SABC? I just want to get a response on those specific issues that was in the public domain. Honourable Mamula.
Thank you, Chairperson, and thank you for your presentation. Minister, will you please explain who is this Paul O'Sullivan? My second question, because others are asked by the Chairperson, my second question, this forensic report was there since 2012. Why now is out? And why did the suspended NATCOM keep the forensic report under wraps for more than a year? My third question, Acting National Commissioner, you said you are going to take this matter to court in a public domain. Are you prepared to do it or what? Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Honourable Member. Honourable Mabija.
Thank you, Chairperson. My question is this, that we have this private investigator, and I would like to ask to get it from the minister because he's the leader of this group.
Well, that was the Police Portfolio Committee there. But let's now move over to the Public Protector, who is reporting on her 100 days in office.
That seeks to amend the Act to bring it in line with the Constitution, and we've also finalized the Public Protector rules as required by the Act. We will take the process forward, and we've requested the Department of Justice to assist in placing this in the parliamentary legislative process. One of the Public Protector's constitutional mandate, apart from the well-known investigating improper conduct in state affairs, is to be accessible to all communities. Therefore, in pursuit of this, I've met with two cabinet ministers, Honorable Masuta and Honorable Van Rooyen, in efforts to broaden access. We explored the use of magistrates' courts and municipal premises, including traditional councils, to reach more people. On resources, we are underfunded as an institution. This financial year, we've been allocated 263 million. Only half of our organizational structure is funded, which means we operate at half our potential. We've embarked on a restructuring process that seeks to align our operations to the mission. This process will also work, the impending CEO or who will be appointed will also deal with this particular issue. We have also been addressing the challenges of low staff morale that has resulted from, among others, the inability to implement the occupation-specific dispensation for legally qualified senior managers. There has been continuous engagement with labor unions to address other issues that have contributed to low staff morale, such as performance management and related policies, as well as job evaluations. Between 2016 and January 2017, we've advertised 45 posts, which must be filled urgently. Key among those are that of the Chief Executive Officer, Chief Operations Officer, Executive Manager Complaints Stakeholder Management, and Senior Manager Legal Services. For these positions, we have interviewed the candidates and will be making offers soon. During the period under review, we had about 5 contract posts, 3 of them, that of a Chief of Staff, Manager Communications and Special Advisor, Report Writing and Quality Management, that ceased to exist and are largely the cause of the turbulence referred to in the media earlier. The former Chief of Staff, who had 6 months left on his 12-month contract, agreed to part ways with the institution, and he was paid for the remaining months. The communications manager's contract lapsed at the end of December and was not renewed. Instead, we advertised for a permanent position because that position originally was never funded. Special Advisor Report Writing was advised to resign before I took over office because she was appointed improperly. All of this happened before I assumed duty. The agreement between her and the institution has been that she will be appointed as a consultant. The planned appointment now would have happened during my tenure. I could not approve that, as that would have amounted to the contravention of the Public Finance Management Act. Then she took the institution to CCMA, which found in her favor, and the institution has paid her for the remaining 3 months. Turning to stakeholder management, on the 16th of February, I'll kickstart a 4-month nationwide stakeholder engagement roadshow that will see me crisscrossing the country, interacting with a varied network of stakeholders. This will include premiers, members of the executive councils, provincial legislatures, to the general public, political parties represented in parliament. The theme of our stakeholder engagement is broadening access, taking the public protector to the grassroots. The aim is to introduce myself to the stakeholders, communicate my vision to stakeholders, and to solicit their views. Increase awareness about the existence, mandate, and services of the public protector, as well as increase access to the said services. I will spend at least 2 days in each province engaging with government leaders on one day and engaging with the public on the other day. So our first engagement is in Gauteng, the 16th and the 17th. We will communicate more details at a later stage. The roadshow therefore presents an opportune moment for you to engage us directly in an unmediated fashion. I urge you to make use of this opportunity and bring your concerns and suggestions to our attention so that together we can find ways to ensuring that this office lives up to its constitutional mandate and works to the satisfaction of all concerned. Ngiyathokoza.
Okay, thank you, PP. We will now open the floor for questions. And we'll take them in batches of 5 at a time. I've already noted ENCA and Mainland Guardian, the Sunday Times, and the lady at the back. So we've got about 5, including the gentleman over there. Let's start here. Can I get a mic over here, Mr.
Karen on from ENCA. Just to clarify, you said that you formally filed a notice to oppose the President's review application of state capture, but you're also saying you're seeking legal advice. So is this a definitive indication that you intend to oppose the relief sought by the President, or might you change your perspective on this particular application having sought legal advice? Thank you.
Philip Devitt from the Mainland Guardian. Ma'am, you say that, and I quote, publishing the content of draft reports that are released improperly without our consent impacts negatively on the credibility of this institution with regards to Bank-Corp CX. Do you mean that the draft report was sent out without your consent, or do you mean that we should seek your consent before publishing on such draft reports? Or perhaps if I can put that more sharply, is it correct that your office sent out the draft CX reports without requiring confidentiality undertakings?
Thank you very much. Just to pick up what my colleague asked regarding the state of capture review application. I don't know if I heard correctly, but you said that there's, unprecedented. I just wanted to find out, it seems to be a clean situation where a report was issued and the implicated parties have decided to take the matter on review. So what is the basis of seeking a legal opinion? And if you could just take us into your confidence with regards to amending the Public Protector Act in line with the current constitution, what would we see different, if anything at all? Thank you.
Good day, Stephen Stillman from SABC TV News. When you started off, you mentioned that it has been a rocky start. Can you perhaps tell us exactly what were the issues that you found to have been bumpy, as you called it, for the South? Of course, there's been a lot in the media regarding staff issues, state members being escorted out. Exactly what did you find challenging in the South as you came in? And also, we've had some political parties that supported your appointment in Parliament that now have withdrawn that, calling it a big mistake that they've made. What is your response to that? Thank you.
Giovanni Machadi from ANN7. As SABC has said, there has been a political cloud over your office and your integrity, with the DA and the EFF saying a few words. Will you be continuing to work with caution, or will you stand up and obviously tell us what your view is on this? And just of personal interest, we understand that with the news in the beginning, in your days in office, there was the change in TV channels from the NCA to ANN7. Do you think that this is a play as well on the political cloud that is over you? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We'll take the next set after the public protector has responded. Over to you, Pipi.
Okay, thank you, Opa. Thank you so much for the questions. Karen? Is this? The mic is failing us again. Hello? Okay. Karen, on the issue of seeking legal opinion, yes, I have lodged an intention to oppose, just to comply to the court rules, as I said. And I've indicated that this is a complex matter and there's no legal precedence on it. Therefore, I will be getting a comprehensive legal opinion, and I will assess the information, and I will decide whether to continue opposing or then change the approach. Mr. Divet, finally I managed to see you today. Yes, the impact has been negative in the sense that the report was issued in terms of Section 7(9) to the implicated parties. Implicated meaning they had something to respond to. That is not a report which we issue to every person, including the complainant. I know Advocate Hoffman has also complained to the Portfolio Committee about this matter. But then, the report is still part of the investigation. It's not a public document. So when my office has issued that report, it has issued it to National Treasury, to ABSA, to Reserve Bank, to the presidency, because the president is expected to answer certain allegations. So it was based on that. Therefore, by issuing the report to the implicated parties, normally we didn't expect that this will be out there in the media because people are being implicated and they need to make sure that they clear their names before the information is out there. On the state of capture report, it's not on state of capture report where I'm seeking legal opinion, it's on CX report. It's state of capture, I'm seeking a legal opinion, yes, to decide whether to oppose or not to oppose. The effect of the matter, I think, is what I've answered to Karen. Because the report is out there, the president has applied for judicial review, which is within his right. Therefore, is to make sure whether to oppose or not to oppose that application. On amending the PP Act, we are aligning it to the Constitution because originally it was Office of the Public Protector, whereas in the current Constitution is Public Protector as an institution comparatively to what the Auditor General is. And further, we exploring various ways of raising or addressing our financial constraints, because like your Auditor General, you pay if you are being audited as a state institution, your SIU, you pay when you are being investigated. Therefore, since we investigating government departments, we are also considering to have that. But there's only few minor cosmetic changes. What are the issues which are found to be bumpy? It's I think the allegations which have been made on me, you know, sometimes finding yourself, you have to prove yourself to people to say, I'm here to work, I'm here to deliver services, I'm not bringing any agendas. But then it has been a good reception from the staff, I must say. We are working together. Nothing bumpy from the staff, but it's only the reports which are out there in the media. The political parties, their challenges. I think it's, unfortunately, they've decided to vote for me because of my performance and of what I did, and I'm still committed to do my work without fear or favor. And the allegations which have been made, I think I said it even on, I think it was on the 6th of October when Mahlatsi Galans was interviewing me to say, what am I going to do about the allegations of DA, that I was a spy when I was in China. I said I'm giving them an opportunity to withdraw that and apologize, and I'll consider taking legal action. So within the 100 days, it was still early for me. I've given them enough time to do that, and unfortunately they have not done that. So indeed, now I'm seriously considering I'll be taking legal action on that matter because it impacts on the integrity of the institution. I don't think the institution would love to be led by a spy. Yeah. ANN 7, on the issue of, I think I've addressed the issue, the views of DA and EFF. On the changing of channels, I'd like to read something here, and you tell me whether Dear colleagues, written by Communications, could you kindly indicate who is responsible for managing the TV screens on the common area of the 3 floors? The Public Protector has directed that we should, ESA should not be the only channel that is being shown on the TVs. She directs that one floor could play SABC News channel 404, the other channel ENCA, and the other channel ANN 7. So your assistance in this regard will be appreciated. That was our communication requesting our IT guys to help. So I think that answers what I've really indicated in this particular aspect. I don't know, DPP, do you want to add anything?
Thank you, PP. Let's open the floor again for more questions that I've noted. The lady over here from Power, is it Power? Yeah. Who else would like to take a bite? Okay, the gentleman from the SABC wants to come back again. I see Bloomberg News as well. Let's start with Power.
Thank you, Tina Snow from Power FM. Advocate, if you can maybe just comment on the resignation of your chief investigator, Nkebe Kanyane, and do you worry that there's becoming a trend of resignation since you took office? Thank you.
Hi, thank you. It's Stephen Kokeli from Bloomberg News.
Want to take the Nkebe?
Thank you. PP, you say you signaled your intention to oppose the president's move on state capture. I'm a little bit confused because the report comes from the Public Protector and you're saying at the same time you're still seeking legal advice. do you have any reservations about the report itself? And why would you seek legal advice? As you mentioned, it's a straightforward matter. You come into office, the report is straightforward. Now you have a different person challenging it. I would imagine supporting the report would be the obvious move. Thank you.
Hi, I'm from PCA again. Just the decision to lay criminal charges over the release of the audio by Advocate Tuli Madonsela to ENCA. She's come out quite strongly publicly and questioned that. Do you think that, you know, with hindsight, would it maybe have been better to speak to her prior to this before laying criminal charges? And is it your belief that Advocate Tuli Madonsela broke the law when she released that audio, given that the president had gone to Parliament and actively said that she had never questioned him and that's why it sought the review? Thanks.
Yeah, I'm sorry, we're frantically filing on the various pieces that you've already given us here. This is the first time that we get to speak to you, that we actually get to interact with you, and hence we're so frantically filing. Can we expect to only see you and to only have you face questions every 100 days, or will there be a more regular engagement?
Social media, email, 24/7.
Good day, Sipo from SABC again. My question is similar to that of my colleagues over there. What is it exactly that troubles you with the state of capture report that now you are seeking legal opinion on it, whether to continue with opposing the review application? If you can just let us know exactly, you know, where does this decision to now seek legal opinion come from? And also, you started off by thanking your predecessors, but I'm quite curious, what is your relationship, if there's any, with your immediate one, Tuli Madonsela? Because there has been an impression given that there is a sort of, I don't know, speaking against her, like we went to Parliament, and you know, your first appearance there, you spoke a lot about low stuff, morale, and matters that painted her in a bad light. And now this morning on UH, we hear that, you know, she's had to pay about 750,000 rands for a vehicle that she thought she did not have to pay anything on. You can just talk to us about that. Thank you.
Let's take the last one and then the people will respond.
Thank you very much. Conita Hunter from the Sunday Times again. Just a follow-up. I don't know, I guess she wasn't probably clear enough, and that of my colleagues. You say that the issue of the president taking that report of judicial review is complex and unprecedented. That's the words you used. I would suspect, and you know, we've been covering the public prosecutor's office for a while now, that there has been reports that have been taken on judicial review, and the report would not have been released had the office of the public protector not been sure of its contents. So when it's challenged, you know, the natural step would be to oppose it and then to argue against taking it in judicial review. So when you, if you know, which legal firm did you ask for advice for, number one, and number two is, what was your question to them? What part of the law did you have difficulty in understanding? In just, you know, is this the first time you've experienced, or is the first time the office is experiencing an application for judicial review? What part of the law is that you're having difficulty with that's so complex and unprecedented that you would now need lawyers to advise you on the next step? Thank you, Public Protector.
Over to you, PP.
Thank you for the questions. Power FM, I was asking the acting CEO to respond because it's relating to staff matters, but yes, she has resigned. And, you know, we have a good quality and skilled employees in this institution. So any organization would like to have or employ them. So she voluntarily resigned and she's being offered a better offer somewhere else. I'll ask the CEO to add if necessary. The opposing of the state of capture report, I think I'll answer Karen and Bloomberg, and yes. The issue is an SABC. The president would want to review the remedial action which prescribe to the president how he must appoint the judicial review, instructing to appoint or request the Chief Justice to appoint the judicial, in fact, to identify a judge. And so the issue is, I've said it earlier, the complexity comes in the sense of saying we don't have precedence over this matter. So it's checking whether the institution like the Child Protector can instruct the president to perform his duties in terms of the provisions of the Constitution. So it's just making sure that we clarify that. So it doesn't make sense for one to go ahead, you oppose out of the blue, and then you need to have evidence why you're opposing. You know, you have to have enough information. So that's what we'll be doing. The legal firm we're working with here is Adams and Adams. And they've requested a senior counsel for that legal opinion. I mean, soon we will be knowing which direction we are taking. I don't have a problem with the report. The report is there. The report is binding, and I won't change the report because the president wants that be set aside, and then the office continue investigating the matter. So we don't have a problem with that. On the issue of the release of the audio and the criminal charges, I think what I've explained several times was that the report was released with a transcribed record, which has been mentioned in the report. The audio is a different part of evidence, and I indicated that it's not only the president's report, the audio is that of Honorable Malema and Feki Mentor. So we wanted the police to investigate when was those audios leaked, and if they were issued or taken to ENCA or whoever after the term, like even Advocate Madonsela, the issue of when was that audio released, it's also a question which needs to be investigated. So it's making sure that we address these issues of leaks, and we know that the integrity of the office is maintained. Mr. Divet, yes, we will be communicating more. I just needed space to do my work and to focus. So we will interact more. You won't wait for another 100 days for us to interact. When we have time, we will engage, acknowledging the importance of the media. On the issue of the media, SABC is the one which is saying, I hate Tulima Donsela. I don't hate Advocate Tulima Donsela. We worked together, and even before the audio was released, we spoke where she was requesting to get information because she's getting a lot of media queries, which I said, no, leave it to me. Don't worry, because that is the property or is the information of the Child Protector, so we will handle it from our side. The issue of the annual report, I mean, I started work on the 17th of October. On the 19th, I'm expected to, on the 18th, I'm expected to present Advocate Madonsela's work. So what I was presenting is the annual report, which is indicating all the things I've presented. So it's not what I said, it's what the annual report was saying. about the low staff morale, about the using of the consultants, about the usage of the funding, USAID funding. So I was presenting Advocate Madonsala's report. I didn't change that report. It was already finalized, published. So it was my responsibility to go and publish. On the issue of the car, remember we're dealing with taxpayers' money. Therefore, that amount needed to be paid, and we're still engaging state attorney to advise as well whether, because we've kept only a few amount, is not what is mentioned in UH, until the matter is resolved. So this is done in the spirit of good governance, and making sure that we are not finding ourselves to be on the wrong side of the law when we are being audited. See you.
Thank you. Are there still more questions from the floor? I see there's one here, and I will go to the bureau chief of African News Agency, and the lady next to him. Before we go back to those that have already asked for. Can you start here?
Thank you so much. I'm Sidi Madia from News 24. Just a few things. Tahila from Parliament had asked it. I didn't hear an answer. She asked if you're worried about the turnover of staff at your office. And then also, you speak here about how there were innuendos and half-truths being spread about you. I assume it sounds like it's the media that's doing it, but I just want to find out what are these half-truths and innuendos that are consistently being perpetuated about you. And also, with the APSA report, I know you're waiting for feedback from the respondents. I just want to find out, has it been changed before being sent out, or did it go out as what it was supposedly leaked as? Thank you.
Good day, everyone. My name is Johnny Sai. I'm with African News Agency. Just meant to clear the air on the issue of the car used by the previous public protector. You said it's not what is mentioned in the New Age, but how much is being paid? If you can be generous enough, please. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Navina from Voices News. Just for clarity, we only respond on the APSA report once you have released the final report. If not, just a quick one on, do you accept APSA's position that some of the things that were mentioned in the report have a number of inaccuracies?
On the spy allegations, can you give us some more detail of your current thinking around that action, please? Most importantly, do you intend to invoke the contempt clauses in the PP Act, or are you looking at something more like defamation? And can you also identify for us the parties who you will be looking at? Mostly to preempt, I suspect there might be a fight there about parliamentary privilege coming your way.
Last one. Okay.
Thank you so much, PP. I'm sorry I have to take you back to the state capture question. You say the report is binding and you have no problem with the report, yet you have questions about the remedial actions. Now I'm confused. If the remedial actions are in the report and you say it's binding and you have no problem, what does it mean then to even question the remedial actions? Just to say, it's not the first time that the president has been instructed to act by the Public Protector Office. 2010, 2011, a lot of ministers were in trouble and the president was instructed to act and he did. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Over to you, VP.
We need
funding for sound system. Huh?
Thank you. Well, I'm worried about the resignations. This is I think the third resignation. The CEO, it was personal issues which I couldn't change. The investigator, Luvuane, got better offer, we couldn't offer that. And Advocate Ganyane is better offer. So I think it's good for people to grow. We can't hold them back. And I wouldn't say it's a worrying trend because, I mean, I've found people coming in, going. So I think it's fine. There have truths which is perpetuated. The spy allegations, the Gupta puppet, the changing of the CX report after meeting the president. So those are just sensationalization, which it has never happened. And on the spy issue, Philip, I thought you've written a nice piece of article which I thought you'll publish it again, my life in China. But anyway, on that one, I will be meeting the legal team soon, and then we will look into all those aspects which you've asked, whether defamation or whether contempt or whether the parliamentary privilege will be invoked. So all those issues will be dealt with. On the issue of the remedial action and the state of capture, I still say I don't want to waste taxpayers' monies and oppose for the sake of opposing. We want to oppose knowing very well that we have a case in this particular instance. So it's purely on that. On the issue of the figure of the car, I'll ask the acting CEO to answer on that.
Thank you, VP. Just on the figures, it's not the figure of 750,000 that is being spoken about. There are two specific figures. The first one for the repair cost to the BMW X6, it's an amount of 420,455 and 2 cents. And then there is an amount of 37,081.75, which is for the continued use of the vehicle that Advocate Madonsela was using in November after a term ended. So all in all, the total is 457,536.77 cents. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. On the issue of whether the CX report has been changed, I think there was a question on that. Or the inaccuracies in the report. You know, the report is like, I don't know whether to call it a report in the first instance. We can just say evidence gathered, and then we need confirmation on the information which is there. Therefore, those inaccuracies, those allegations that so-and-so didn't say this and that, those will be clarified when we receive their inputs on the 28th of February. So the fact of the matter that the report has been changed, the report was a draft. The report was not signed. Therefore, I couldn't just send out a report which I haven't read, I haven't applied my mind. So that is the issue about the CX report. Thank you.
Thank you, PP. That was the last round of questions, and that brings us to the end of the press conference. Thank you so much for coming.
One-on-ones. I was saying that normally they like to have one-on-ones, so the one come to you and do TV.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, thank you, Deputy. You didn't want to add.
No, as in, it's covered. You don't want to.
So we're doing it here.
Yes, yes.
Leaving me.
Yes.
Okay.
This one becomes your show and you.
Okay.
Yes.
Thanks, Deputy.
Thanks a lot.
All right, it seems that that press briefing has wrapped up. The public protector briefing the media on her first 100 days in office, saying it's been a bumpy 16 weeks, but she said that was not unexpected. And in talking about her first 100 days, she did indicate that her office will oppose President Zuma's challenge to reviewing the state capture report, but she said that she is seeking legal opinion about this, so this could change. She also said that she's seriously considering taking legal action against the DA for calling her a spy, saying that this has seriously impacted the integrity of her office. She also spoke about low staff morale and a struggle for funding for her office. So quite an interesting press briefing there from the new public protector. Quite a lot coming out of that. And we will be crossing to our Sipho Steerman in the news at 1 just to get a bit more as to what came out of that briefing. For now, we'll take a short break. I'll be back with your news headlines just after this.
If you